Imagine holding the power to destroy the world, but you're too busy stressing over a writing deadline to notice. Meet our protagonist, a useless Jiren hunter who is so broke that even his own appraisal skill roasts him for being poor. He thinks he's just venting his rage on a trashy mobile game, squashing digital ants to pass the time. But reality is about to glitch. Every tap of his screen is actually a nuclear strike in another dimension. While the legendary Lightning Empress is struggling to scratch an S-rank boss, he casually obliterates an entire army while lying in bed. When a literal god of destruction descends to end humanity, he doesn't summon a legendary sword. He simply deletes the deity with a flaming middle finger. The name is "I'll be taking a break for personal reasons, and this is just the beginning." Meet our struggling author, a guy who is currently losing a boxing match with a deadline. Instead of actually writing his web novel, he decides to do what every procrastinator does best: organize his phone apps. He stumbles upon a suspicious chess-looking app called Godmaker that literally eats the screen and welcomes him to the game. He is convinced it is a total piece of garbage, but curiosity killed the author, and he taps it anyway. Suddenly, the narration drops a bombshell that this is the story of how he ended up on a break. We see our boy standing on a hill like some edgy protagonist, surrounded by a literal sea of monsters. With a flick of his finger, he summons enough lightning to fry the entire mob. When a giant monster tries to sneak up on him, he just teleports and flips them the middle finger of condemnation, which apparently comes with a side of massive fireballs. He even has a healing finger because why not be completely broken? Back in reality, our author is getting absolutely cooked in his own comment section. His readers are calling him lazy and demanding he finish the story before disappearing. He hilariously asks if he can at least come back after saving the world, but eventually just posts a hiatus notice for personal reasons. It turns out humanity is having a rough time because gates and dungeons started popping up like unwanted pimples. Now, the world is run by hunters ranging from god-tier SSS class to basically useless G-class. This is where we meet our aspiring Lightning Queen, who is currently obsessing over her evaluation results. She is stuck at B+ and is desperate to break through her limits. While she is having a mini crisis at the evaluation center, our author boy wanders over. She immediately thinks he is trying to flirt because she is clearly the main character in her own head, but he is just being incredibly awkward. She gets so annoyed she almost saps him, but he gets a mysterious call and bolts like he left the oven on, leaving her completely baffled. Things go south quickly when a massive A-class monster called a Thornbull starts a one-man riot in a parking lot. Our Lightning Queen jumps in to save a child and our clueless author, but her attacks are about as effective as a wet noodle against this beast. Just as she is ready to meet her ancestors and thinking about a revenge she will never get to have, a voice echoes in her head. Suddenly, she unleashes a nuke-level lightning spell that leaves the monster as a pile of roasted beef. The crowd goes wild, crowning her the Lightning Empress, but she is standing there wondering how she just pulled that off since it felt like she surpassed her own limits. Our author boy thanks her for the help and leaves with the kid, but she realizes something fishy is going on. He knew her name, and that voice in her head? Yeah, it sounded suspiciously like him. Our boy stands on a high ledge overlooking a shimmering city, looking every bit like a tragic protagonist about to make a very bad life choice. But do not get your tissues out just yet because he is not there to end it all. He is actually just contemplating throwing his phone into the abyss because the device has been nothing but a massive headache for him and his nephew. To understand why he is currently beefing with a piece of hardware, we have to go back a few days to when our failed author was losing his mind over another looming deadline. With zero concentration and a laptop screen that was probably judging him, he decided to distract himself by cleaning up his phone apps. That is when he noticed that weird chest icon again. Thinking it was just some trashy game, he opened it only for the app to grow a monster mouth and welcome him to the Godmaker. He could not even read the text, so he just started tapping the screen like a frustrated toddler. Suddenly, a literal coin popped out of the phone and smacked him right in the forehead. While he was nursing his new bruise, a system window popped up to congratulate him for squashing something to death and earning a god coin. Apparently, he was now one step closer to becoming an almighty evil god. Naturally, he was confused, but since the world had already gone to the monsters 20 years ago, he figured he was either a hunter or needed a very long stay in a psychiatric ward. Hoping for a ticket out of poverty, our boy headed to the evaluation center. While the guys in line were busy roasting his name, he was busy daydreaming about being a Superman tier hunter with a personal harem. He was ready to retire from writing forever, but the overly cheerful receptionist decided to rain on his parade. It turns out he is actually a G-rank hunter, which is basically the participation trophy of the supernatural world. His only ability? Producing materials. To make matters worse, the registration fee for his useless license cost more money than he had laying around, so he just went home to sulk. By 2 in the morning, our frustrated author was back at his desk, stuck in a cycle of writing and deleting while the news bragged about real hunters killing dragons. Feeling like a total loser compared to the heroes on TV, he tried to sleep, only for that annoying phone game to start screaming at him again. He spent the rest of the night aggressively squashing digital ants until he passed out. When he woke up, the pile of coins on his desk had merged into a single gold piece worth 100 units. The phone then dropped a bombshell. He had officially unlocked the card store. Curiosity got the better of him, and as soon as he hit yes, the phone started glowing like a cheap disco ball. Meanwhile, in a fancy building full of people who probably smell like expensive cologne and corruption, the president of Korea and the head of the Hunter Association were having a secret meeting. It turns out that having a shop ability is incredibly rare and sought after. The big shots were all buzzing about a new hunter shop opening in Korea, which would allow people to buy top-tier items and skills. They even brought in an S-rank hunter and a sensory specialist to explain just how big of a deal this is. Little do they know, their big new savior is currently a broke writer who just got headshot by a coin. Back in the room full of important people in expensive suits, the atmosphere is tense enough to snap a neck. The man with glasses welcomes the directors and the head of the Hunter Association, looking very pleased with himself. He announces that they are about to witness history because, finally, a hunter has opened a hunter shop in their country. The political bigwigs gasp and all like they just saw a dog walk on its hind legs. The glasses man asks the S-class hunter, Mr. Kong Woo, to activate the shop. A holographic sphere appears. But since these corporate overlords are mere mortals, they cannot see a thing aside from the flashy light show. The glasses man calms them down, explaining that the shop is usually only visible to the owner. However, Miss Young Mina is there to play human projector and uses her psychometry to let everyone peek at the goods. Suddenly, the shop inventory floats in the air, and it is loaded with goodies that cost more than the GDP of a small country. There is a high-class potion for 7,000 gold and the literal Excalibur for 2 million gold. Then, they see the blessing of the Thunder God, priced at a casual 300 million gold. One of the suits does the math and realizes that is about 30 trillion won, which he calls cheap, proving that rich people live on a completely different planet than the rest of us. The president interrupts the shopping spree to remind everyone that this is a matter of national fortune. He demands absolute secrecy and orders at least 2 S-class hunters to guard Mr. Kong Woo at all times. Meanwhile, back in the apartment of sadness, our G-class boy is staring at his own system window. He sees the congratulations message for unlocking the God Shop and feels a pang of jealousy. He wonders why the universe is so unfair, comparing himself to the famous S-class Kong Woo. The gap between the S-class hero and him, a G-class nobody, is vast, but he figures he can at least make some money out of this. He agrees to pay the 100 coins to activate the shop, watching his hard-earned currency vanish into the digital void. But when the shop opens, he is immediately humbled. The prices are absolutely vicious. He sees skills costing 1 million, 10 million, and even 100 million gold. Considering he only gathered 300 cores after working all night, he is mathematically light years away from affording anything cool. However, one item catches his eye because it is suspiciously cheap. For exactly 100 gold, he can buy the Eye of the Blind God. The description is cryptic nonsense about seeing the truth but never seeing the truth, so naturally, our genius buys it immediately. Instant karma strikes, and he goes completely blind. He starts panicking, stumbling around his room, and screaming about his eyes while looking for his phone. He trips, slams into the sofa, and screams in pain, continuing his streak of being the least graceful hunter in history. Just as he is regretting every life choice he has ever made, his vision returns. But now, the world looks different. He can finally read the garbled text in the shop. It turns out the unreadable items were actually evil god authorities. He sees the flames of Jihan for 2 million gold and Pandora's box for 5 million. There is even a summoning scale for a planet devourer priced at 1 billion gold, and a creation of heaven and earth authority for 1 trillion. He realizes that these names sound like something out of a fantasy novel where he is the main character. He remembers hearing that G-class hunters are supposed to stay G-class forever, but clearly, the system did not get that memo. With his remaining pocket change, he looks for something, anything, that he can actually afford. He finds a skill called Crushing Index Finger of the God for 100 gold. Thinking the name sounds cool, and having literally no other options, he buys it. He decides to test out this terrifyingly named godly power immediately. He points his finger at the air conditioner and chops the skill name with all the intensity of an anime protagonist. Nothing happens. Undeterred, he points at the television and shouts again. Still nothing happens, except the weather forecast lady telling him it is going to be a clear day. He looks at his finger, completely unimpressed. After analyzing the situation with his massive brain, he comes to the only logical conclusion. This godly ability must be a remote control. Yes, truly, the gods have blessed him with the power to change channels. Our aspiring genius decides to test the limits of his new godly finger on the one thing that actually matters, his career. He points his digit at his computer screen and screams the skill name, hoping the crushing index finger will magically type out his novel for him. Naturally, absolutely nothing happens because, shocker, supernatural powers do not come with a built-in spell check or ghostwriter function. Just as he is resigning himself to the tragedy of actually having to work, his phone rings. It is his editor, and he sounds suspiciously happy. The editor is raving about the latest draft, calling it unique and fun. Our boy is confused for a solid second before he realizes he just sent a rant about killing digital ants and passed it off as literature. Apparently, the bar for web novels is so low it is currently in hell. The editor demands the next chapter in 3 days, but our hero, being the professional procrastinator he is, begs for 2 extra days. The editor agrees, wishing him luck, completely unaware that research involves tapping a phone screen in underwear. With his deadline extended, he dives right back into the game to massacre more ants. He justifies this violence as gathering material for his next project, which is a fancy way of saying he is addicted. As he commits mass insecticide, the coins start dropping and merging into larger denominations. He browses the shop and spots the blessing of the god of growth for 1,000 coins. Even though it is the lowest class item, the word growth makes his heart pound like he just saw a 50% off sale. He decides to grind until he can afford it. Suddenly, a wild variable appears. At number 404, a big red chunker scurries across the screen. Unlike the other pixelated victims, this one refuses to die. Our gamer boy tries to channel his inner rhythm game pro, tapping furiously, but the red ant is too fast and escapes. He is humiliated. Imagine being outsmarted by a bug named after a page not found error. Enraged, he takes his frustration out on the regular ants, slaughtering them by the hundreds until 3 a.m. The system notifies him that his karma is rising, and he is close to obtaining the Great Evil God title, promising a reward if he keeps up the genocide. Exhausted, he finally passes out. But his new Eye of the Blind God skill has other plans. It deactivates the safety filters and decides to show him exactly what he missed. He wakes up in a dream that looks like a private cinema, complete with popcorn he definitely did not pay for. He shouts into the void, asking if anyone is there, but instead of an usher, he gets a movie screening. The screen flashes with lore about a god of the Black Tribes who sacrifices its own followers just to kill a rival. It seems our boy's little mobile game has a plot thicker than his actual novel. The cinematic dream continues, shifting scenes to a desert where our runaway red ant, numbered 404, is pleading his case to a group of his peers. He tells them about the terrifying monster that nearly squashed him, describing our protagonist as the god of the Black Tribes. Naturally, the other ants mock him for running away, because apparently, toxic masculinity exists even in insect societies. Just as the bullying session heats up, an elderly ant with a beard that rivals Dumbledore steps in. This is the Great Sage, and he commands the room with the authority of someone who has survived at least 3 software updates. He confirms that the red ant is telling the truth and declares that a wicked demon is hunting them. He heals the red ant with some blue magic, rallying the troops to defend their territory against the evil god. Our boy wakes up in a cold sweat, looking like he just ran a marathon in his sleep. He tries to convince himself it was just a weirdly realistic dream caused by stress and bad life choices. But when he glances at his phone, the nightmare follows him into reality. On the screen, the red ant and the bearded sage are staring right back at him. He is confused for a moment, thinking the game is glitching, but then the tiny pixels start chanting a spell. Before he can even process the absurdity of the situation, a beam of light shoots out of the phone and smacks him right in the face. He touches his forehead and feels a stinging pain. The ants on the screen start celebrating, cheering that they have subjugated the evil god. They are throwing a digital parade, praising the sage for his bravery. This is the final straw. Our hero has been broke, mocked, and now physically assaulted by a mobile app. Something inside him snaps. If they want an evil god, he will give them an evil god. He unleashes his fury, not with a spell, but with a good old-fashioned fist. He starts punching the phone screen with the rage of 1,000 rejected writers. The system notifies him that ant number 404 has exploded. Then the sage explodes. He keeps swinging until the entire ant army is obliterated. When the dust settles, he looks down at the carnage. His phone screen is completely shattered, a spiderweb of cracks covering the display. Tears well up in his eyes, not for the lives he just took, but because he definitely cannot afford to fix this. Just then, a system message pops up over the broken glass. It cheerfully congratulates him on earning the title of Evil God. It is a bittersweet victory, proving that while he might be a deity in the digital world, in the real world, he is just a guy with a broken phone and anger issues. Just as our protagonist is trying to process the fact that he smashed his phone screen in a fit of rage, another system window pops up to sprinkle some salt on the wound. It congratulates him on reaching 1,000 karma and officially obtaining the title of Evil God. He is baffled, muttering that he is actually a law-abiding nice guy, conveniently forgetting the digital genocide he just committed against an entire civilization of ants. While he is having his moral crisis, the pile of coins on his desk does that magical merging trick again, but this time, it drops a ring. He picks it up and sniffs it like a weirdo, realizing it smells like a fresh forest. The scent is so potent it clears his head, so naturally, he puts it on. Immediately, his fatigue vanishes, and his body feels brand new. Suddenly, his Eye of the Blind God activates on its own to appraise the jewelry. It turns out this is the Ring of the Druid, an item held by the late Ant Knower 808, and it boosts elemental power. Our boy is thrilled, realizing his new eyes are basically a high-tech scanner. He decides to test this power on his household items, which turns out to be a depressing financial audit. He looks at his TV, and the system helpful informs him that it has 3 months left on its installment plan. He looks at his laptop, and the system reminds him he still owes 6 months of payments on it. Finally, he looks at his bed, and the system just ruthlessly tells him it is old trash and he should throw it away immediately. Even his superpowers are roasting his poverty. Despite the furniture-based bullying, he feels confident. He thinks that with this ring and his new eye, he might finally be a high-ranking hunter. He rushes back to the Hunter Center for a re-examination, strutting in like he owns the place. He asks for a retest, but the receptionist looks at him with the dead eyes of someone who hates their job and informs him that only the first test is free. The cost for a second try is over 1.5 million won. Our broke hero freezes. He obviously does not have that kind of cash, so he apologizes and does the walk of shame out of the building, mentally kicking himself for not Googling the price first. To distract himself from the embarrassment, he looks around the crowded lobby and his eye activates again. This time, it is appraising people, and it is absolute TMI. He looks at a random guy and learns he has been human for 30 years and is currently suffering from hemorrhoids. He looks at a woman and sees she is pregnant. He looks at another man and learns about his rectal dysfunction. Our boy realizes he definitely cannot share this information unless he wants to be locked up. Then, he spots a familiar face. It is the Lightning Queen from earlier, standing near a poster and looking disappointed with some papers in her hand. His eye scans her and reveals her name is Mary, but the special note is confusing. It simply says she is tingling. Our genius author stops. He has never seen a name pop up before, but instead of focusing on that, he fixates on the tingling part. His brain short-circuits. Despite his inner voice screaming at him to stop being a creep, curiosity takes the wheel. He walks right up to the terrifyingly powerful electric mage, taps her on the shoulder, and asks the single worst pickup line in human history. "Excuse me, but do you feel tingling right now?" After delivering the creepiest pickup line in human history, our protagonist immediately realizes that he sounds like a total pervert. The Lightning Queen stares at him with a mix of disgust and confusion, her fist crackling with electricity as she debates whether to taste him or call the police. He starts sweating bullets, furiously backpedaling and trying to explain that he is not a weirdo, which is exactly what a weirdo would say. Just as she is about to turn him into a crispy critter, he is saved by the bell, literally. His phone buzzes with a call from his sister, whom he affectionately calls the Demon Sister. Seizing the opportunity, he apologizes and sprints away like a coward, leaving the poor girl standing there completely baffled by the encounter. He answers the phone while fleeing the scene, and his sister is surprisingly happy because she wants him to babysit. He meets his niece at the park, and honestly, he cannot believe his terrifying sister gave birth to such an angel. He is so overwhelmed by her cuteness that he pinches her cheeks, but the kid immediately slaps his hand away. She is furious, telling him she hates that, proving that the apple does not fall far from the demon tree. She starts sulking, refusing to talk to him. He panics, wondering how to fix this, until his Eye of the Blind God activates automatically. It scans the 5-year-old and reveals her deepest desire, which is a chocolate ice cream cone. He realizes his god-tier powers are apparently best used for babysitting. They head to an ice cream shop, where our broke hero proceeds to pay for the treat using a mountain of loose coins he collected from the game. The shop owner looks like he wants to strangle him as he counts the 150 tiny coins. When the ice cream is finally served, it is pathetic. The swirl is so small it looks like a sample size. Our boy is offended. He wonders if this is discrimination because he paid in shrapnel. He decides he will not stand for this injustice. He points his finger at the machine and whispers his terrifying skill name, Crushing Index Finger of the God. It is a ridiculous use of divine power, but it works. The machine glitches and spews out a massive tower of chocolate ice cream. Back on the bench, his niece is happily devouring her giant treat while he watches, asking for a bite like a beggar. She ruthlessly tells him no. Just as he is thinking about how peaceful the day is, his phone starts screaming a warning. The system announces that the title Cruel Slatterer has attracted an enemy. Suddenly, the massive thorn bull from the beginning of the story crashes the party. Our boy realizes he is absolutely screwed. This brings us back to the first scene where the Lightning Queen saves them. But this time, we see it through his eyes. As she fights the beast, he uses his appraisal skill on the monster. The system reveals that the bull is 400 years old, and its goal is to devour the unknown god to obtain divinity. He realizes with horror that the monster was not attacking the city at random. It was hunting him. The game is bleeding into reality, and he is the target. After the monster is defeated, the system congratulates him for overcoming the trial and rewards him with a free low-class authority skill. But he is too traumatized to care. He stares at his cracked phone, blaming it for nearly getting him and his niece killed. In a fit of rage, He winds up to throw the cursed device into the river. But just as he is about to launch it, another notification pops up. A new deity known as the God of Sameness is trying to contact him. He freezes mid-throw, realizing that his life is only going to get weirder from here. The scene shifts back to the digital world, which is currently looking like a low-budget fantasy movie. At the entrance of a cave, two guards are begging a generic red monster ant for mercy, but the ant, clearly not in a negotiating mood, kills them instantly. Inside the cave, we find the holy maiden of the black tribe, trembling in fear. The red ant leader corners her, mocking her escape attempt and declaring her a tribute for the emperor. It is the classic damsel in distress trope, just with more exoskeletons. Our boy watches this unfold on his cracked phone screen, as system window pops up, asking if he wants to rescue the desperate creature. He hesitates for a microsecond, but then the image of his niece almost getting turned into a snack by the thorn bull flashes in his mind. He sees himself in the terrified maiden, which is a bit dramatic, but we move. Designed to play hero, he presses his finger down on the screen. To him, it is just a tap. To the ants, it is the apocalypse. He squashes the red warrior flat, obliterating the entire squad in seconds. The holy maiden looks up at the sky, or rather, the giant thumb of doom, and asks for the name of her savior. He whispers his name, and she immediately starts worshipping him. The system is thrilled with this divine intervention. It grants him the title of Merciful Redeemer, and switches his alignment from evil to neutral. To sweeten the deal, it drops a massive bonus of 100,000 coins into his account. Our boy does the math and realizes he is suddenly swimming in cash with over 100,000 coins. He immediately goes on a shopping spree. He spots an item called Blessing of the Growing God for 1,000 coins and buys it without reading the fine print. A small potion bottle pops out of the phone. He appraises it, and the description is disgusting. It turns out the potion is literally the bottled body fluids of a perpetual truth seeker spilled during training. Yes, our genius just spent his hard-earned money on bottled god sweat. The description claims mortals who drink it will reach their maximum potential and encourages him to drink lots. He grimaces, trying to convince himself it is just a fancy energy drink. He chugs it down, probably suppressing the urge to vomit, and waits for the superpowers to kick in. Nothing happens immediately, so he drinks more because he makes great life choices. Suddenly, a system notification flashes, assimilation rate increased. He passes out cold. When he wakes up, his headache is pounding, but that is the least of his problems. His room is moving. He looks down and realizes the floor is carpeted in red ants. The game has decided to upgrade the battlefield by bringing the dungeon into his bedroom. He panics and sprints for the door, but the ants block his path. He turns to the window, thinking that jumping from the third floor is a better option than being eaten alive by insects, but he cannot break the glass. He is trapped. The ants start firing arrows at him. From his perspective, they are like tiny toothpicks bouncing off his skin, but there are thousands of them. In the game world, the ant general is laughing, ordering his troops to charge the giant monster. Our boy, realizing he is about to be swarmed, grabs a can of bug spray and a lighter. He unleashes a makeshift flamethrower, which the system interprets as a divine fire sphere. The ants scream in terror as a wall of fire incinerates them. But the assimilation is taking a toll on his real body. He falls to the floor, paralyzed, unable to move as the smoke fills the room. He wonders if this is how he dies, killed by a mobile game tutorial in his own apartment. Just as he thinks it is game over, a notification pops up. A high-class deity named Soundless Nightmare has sent him a gift. A dark, ominous energy gathers at the tip of his finger, looking less like a gift and more like a weapon of mass destruction. We cut to a scenic mountain view where our lightning queen is currently throwing a temper tantrum that would put a toddler to shame. She is blasting electricity everywhere, frustrated that she cannot replicate the insane power boost she felt when she fought alongside our protagonist. She realizes that her dream of surpassing her limits might be impossible without her new human battery pack. Back in the apartment of doom, the situation has gone from bad to charred. Our genius protagonist is currently choking on smoke in a room he set on fire himself. To make matters worse, the high-class god Soundless Nightmare sends him a gift, which turns out to be a portion of a creeping IMAS authority. Our boy is understandably furious because what he needs is a fire extinguisher, not a creepy eyeball skill. He tries to use his trusty crushing finger on the flames, but he inhales too much toxic smoke and starts to black out. Just as he is about to become the world's saddest barbecue, his Eye of the Blind God activates automatically. Through the thick smoke, he spots a figure flying toward his window. It is the Lightning Queen, crashing in to save him for the second time. It seems his damsel in distress energy is just too strong to ignore. We jump forward to the hospital, where our hero is wrapped in so many bandages, he looks like a discount mummy. His niece and sister are visiting, but the niece is suspicious. She demands the secret password to prove his identity. With his sister standing right there, he is forced to say the line, "Mum is a 40-year-old poopy fat granny." His sister looks ready to send him back to the emergency room, cracking her knuckles with murderous intent. Thankfully, the niece saves his life by demanding he play with her, forcing the demon sister to back off. It is a narrow escape from death by sibling. A few days later, our boy is resting in his hospital bed, completely unaware that he has acquired a stalker. Outside on a nearby rooftop, the Lightning Queen is watching him through the window like a creep. She admits she has been watching him for 4 days straight, trying to figure out if he is the secret to her power-up. She briefly wonders if she is being too much of a stalker, but then immediately goes back to staring at him. Inside the hospital room, our protagonist is having another argument with his phone. In the game world, the ant scientist wants to offer him a tribute to apologize for the whole trying to kill him thing. The other ants protest because it is their national treasure, but the scientist insists on giving it to Lord Yu Il Shin as repentance. In the real world, our boy is yelling at his phone, calling them demons and telling them to leave him alone. From the rooftop, the Lightning Queen watches him scream at an inanimate object and looks visibly confused, probably wondering if her secret power source is actually just mentally unstable. Despite his grumbling, he accepts the tribute. A fruit pops out of his phone screen. It is the fruit of the World Tree, a legendary item that boosts vitality. He sniffs it, because apparently, that is his appraisal method, and decides it smells safe enough to eat. He takes a bite, and immediately his body starts glowing with golden light. From her sniper nest on the roof, the Lightning Queen sees the flash and her eyes widen. She definitely just saw something interesting, confirming that her obsession with this weirdo might actually pay off. Our boy takes a bite of the fruit of the World Tree and immediately regrets it because it tastes like a culinary disaster of salt, spice, and bitterness. He starts coughing, wondering why a legendary item tastes like kitchen cleaner, but then the magic kicks in. He rips off his bandages to find that his skin is flawless, his injuries are gone, and his severed arm has completely regenerated. Meanwhile, on the rooftop, the Lightning Queen is still in full stalker mode, watching him heal in real time. She is baffled because he was literally crispy bacon a few days ago, and now he is doing stretches like he just woke up from a nap. Back on the phone screen, the ants are celebrating because their god accepted the tribute. The system notifies him that his faith points have increased, and he earns 10,000 coins just because the ants are happy. He realizes that 1 faith point equals 100 coins, meaning his little insect army is basically a crypto mining farm. He calls them cute, completely ignoring the fact that they are terrifying man-eating monsters. Deciding he needs to turn his loot into cash, he heads to the black market because nothing says legitimate business like a back alley deal. He walks into a shop run by a purple-haired lady who welcomes him. He tries to sell his items, but she asks him to fill out a form detailing where he got them. He freezes, realizing he cannot exactly write down that he got them from squashing bugs on a mobile game. Suddenly, 3 guys walk in looking like they share one brain cell, and the shop owner greets them warmly. Our protagonist uses his Eye of the Blind God to appraise them. The system ruthlessly roasts them, labeling their muscles as weak and calling one guy a virus carrier. The leader of the trio presents a suit of armor, claiming it is a high-level item. The shop owner is impressed, but the eye of our boy reveals the truth. It is just scrap iron with a fancy visual spell on it to make it look expensive. The system even gives a countdown for when the spell will wear off. The shop owner is about to pay 300 million won for this literal trash when our hero steps in and tells her it is a fake. The thugs are furious, grabbing him by the collar and demanding proof. With zero hesitation, he points his finger and uses the crushing index finger of the god. The spell shatters instantly, revealing the rusty, dented garbage underneath. The shop owner is horrified, realizing she almost bought scrap metal for the price of a mansion. The thugs, realizing they have been exposed, are about to attack, but their leader stops them. He assumes that because our boy dispelled the magic so easily, he must be a high-ranking hunter hiding his identity. Terrified of offending a powerful senior, they apologize and run away like cowards. The shop owner is now looking at him with starry eyes, convinced he is a hermit master living among commoners. He decides not to correct her because it sounds cool. Finally, he tries to sell the druid ring he got earlier. The owner inspects it and gives him the bad news. It has low mana capacity, so it is basically D-class trash. She hands it back, saying it is not worth much. But just as he is feeling disappointed, the system activates with a new suggestion. It tells him that the ring contains the life force of the forest and suggests he give it to a specific person nearby. That person is Chami, the Lightning Queen, who is currently lurking outside. It seems the game is playing matchmaker now. High above the city, on a rooftop that screams "I brewed here for aesthetic purposes," the Lightning Queen is currently testing out her new toy. She stares at the cheap-looking ring our broke author gave her and wonders how on earth he healed so fast from being extra crispy bacon just a few days ago. She suspects he might be a high-level hunter in disguise, but then immediately realizes she is spiraling back into stalker territory. She panics, thinking about what her terrifying sister would do if she found out she was creeping on a guy, but the results speak for themselves. As she unleashes her power, a massive bolt of lightning tears through the sky. The ring works. It is not just jewelry, it is a portable power plant. Naturally, Because a girl cannot have a moment of triumph without someone ruining it, the peanut gallery arrives. A blue-haired girl and a red-haired guy show up to rain on her parade. They condescendingly remind young Mary not to get ahead of herself since she is still just an A rank with a bad temper. The guy even suggests they should run some raids together, which is hunter code for let me ride your coattails. Mary, however, is not in the mood. She shuts them down with a death glare, warning them that if they mess with her adventure, they will catch these hands. As they leave, she clutches the ring, thinking that with this power, her revenge is not just a dream anymore. Meanwhile, back in the apartment of soot and sadness, our main character is having the worst nap of his life. The Eye of the Blind God has forced him into a 4K nightmare. He sees General Kamakiri, the Ant Commander, leading an army of 5 million troops to slaughter the Black Tribe, otherwise known as our boy's personal fan club. He wakes up screaming, grateful to be alive, only to realize his reality is not much better. His room is still a burnt wreck from his last power-up, and the only thing that survived the fire is his bed. But the universe is not done traumatizing him yet. A system window pops up from a god named Soundless Nightmare. This charming deity asks if he wants power, and the price is just a casual human sacrifice of 100 people who share his blood. Our boy looks at the screen like it just asked for his kidney. He immediately hits the block button. He analyzes the situation and realizes he has about 71 hours, roughly 4 days, before the Ant Emperor launches his attack. His little ant followers are shaking in fear, and frankly, so is he. He tries to use his fancy self-analysis skill to figure out a plan, but the system roasts him again, basically saying it cannot analyze him because he is a walking glitch. Desperate, he checks his inventory for weapons. He pulls out an item called Chinese Fire, which the shop promised would be devastating when paired with his god's condemning middle finger skill. He looks at it. It is a lighter, just a regular gas station lighter. He realizes with sinking despair that he has been scammed by a god for the second time this week. Before he can rage quit life, his phone rings. It is the final boss. His editor. The editor reminds him that it has been a week since the last manuscript, and since he already took the advance payment, he better start typing or start running. Our hero stammers some excuse about accidental incidents, which is code for I fought a bull and burned my house down, but promises to deliver. For the next few days, he enters the gamer zone. He grinds levels, writes his novel, and drinks potions like they are energy drinks. The system notifies him that his assimilation rate has increased, and he has successfully strengthened his finger and activated his Merciful Redeemer title. Finally, the manuscript is done. He collapses on his desk, probably drooling on the keyboard, muttering about buying his supervisor beef. But outside his door, trouble has arrived in a cute outfit. The Lightning Queen is standing in the hallway, holding a cake box. She is hyperventilating, trying to convince herself that this is not stalking if she brings dessert. She wants to ask for a favor, but she is nervous about making a good first impression. She takes a deep breath, steels her nerves, and reaches out to ring the doorbell. The Lightning Queen stands outside our hero's apartment, looking like she is about to rob the place. She clenches her fists, trying to hype herself up and convince herself not to be nervous. She tells herself to just do it, which is great advice unless you are breaking and entering. She opens the door and calls out his name, only to find the apartment completely empty because, of course, nothing can ever be easy for her. Meanwhile, our protagonist is actually being productive for once. We cut to his editor's office, where he slams down a massive stack of shiny, completed manuscript papers. The editor is practically weeping with joy, looking at the pile of work like it is his firstborn child. Our boy is glowing, almost blushing, knowing he nailed it. The editor is so moved he promises to treat him to Korean beef, which is the only motivation our hero actually cares about. But because the universe hates him, we immediately cut to him tied to a chair with heavy chains in a dark warehouse. The kidnappers are staring at him in disbelief, wondering how on earth someone can sleep so soundly while being abducted. They wonder if he pulled an all-nighter, oblivious to the fact that he was up until 3 in the morning killing digital ants. Our hero finally wakes up, drooling, and mumbles an order for chuck flat tail for 2 people, clearly still dreaming about that beef. The kidnappers are rightfully offended that their hostage is treating this like a restaurant visit. He finally realizes he is not in a steakhouse and wonders where the hell he is. The leader of the gang, a guy with fire magic, tells him it is impressive he can sleep through a kidnapping. Our boy looks at them and his system immediately starts roasting them. It labels the leader as a 31-year-old male with insignificant flames. It calls the second guy, the one in the hat, a 29-year-old with feeble muscles. It also labels the big muscle guy as having feeble muscles, which is just insulting. He realizes these are the 3 scammers he humiliated at the black market shop earlier. The leader demands compensation for the business he disrupted, noting that they accept bank transfers because even criminals appreciate modern banking convenience. He lights a small flame on his finger to threaten him, but our boy just laughs internally at the insignificant flame. He tries to play dumb, saying he does not have his phone, but the leader points out they already confiscated it. The guy with the hat looks at the screen, asking what is showing on it. The system window pops up, announcing that the evaluation is successful, and the timer for the Imperial Army invasion has hit 0. The leader demands they untie him and throw the phone away, but it is too late. A swarm of monstrous insect hands bursts out of the screen. The ants instantly kill the guy with the hat, who screams about bugs before meeting his end. The muscle guy panics, screaming that there are so many of them and realizing the kid's ability as controlling bugs. The leader, however, fights back. He blasts the swarm with a massive wave of fire. Our protagonist watches from his chair, thinking that for a skill called Insignificant Flames, that fire is actually pretty terrifying. The leader is furious about his brother being killed and vows to calculate exactly how much our hero's life is worth. Our boy realizes he is absolutely screwed. Suddenly, the ants escalate the warfare. They are not just fighting. They have built catapults. Yes, the digital bugs brought siege weaponry. The muscle guy loses his mind and tries to run for the door, screaming for help. But the door will not open, and he gets swarmed and killed while our hero wonders if this is karma for the apartment fire incident. The protagonist is sweating, realizing that if he had known these scammers were this strong, he never would have messed with them. He thinks he is going to die here and become a snack for his own ant army. But just as the execution is about to happen, his phone activates a small miracle effect. Lightning crashes through the ceiling. The ants scream, asking who dares attack His Majesty's army. A figure lands in the warehouse, crackling with electricity. The system introduces her as a 19-year-old female human with the status Thrilled AF. It is Mary, wearing her motorcycle helmet and a skirt that is definitely not combat appropriate. Our boy stares in shock as the Lightning Empress arrives to save his damsel in distress, but yet again. The Lightning Queen is currently busy turning the warehouse into an electrical hazard, frying the digital ants left and right. The Ant General is furious, demanding to know how a mere human dares to attack the Emperor's army without even using her own hands. Meanwhile, our tied-up protagonist is watching from the sidelines, shouting trash talk at the ants like a toxic backseat gamer. He laughs at their misfortune, while Mary stays silent, focused on maintaining her cool combat aesthetic. The general realizes that this new enemy is not just a random girl, but a high-level threat capable of wiping out his forces. He decides that if he is going to die, he is taking everyone with him. But first, he needs a power-up. He turns to his own shivering soldiers, who are begging for mercy or promotion, and tells them to prepare themselves as sacrifices. In a move that screams toxic management, the general slaughters his own army to absorb their power. He cuts down his subordinates without hesitation. Glowing with a terrifying red light, our protagonist and the Lightning Queen watch in horror, wondering if this bug just discovered a cheat code. The system identifies the general as a 98-year-old fanatic who is now aiming for Mary's neck with 1,000 invisible blades. Our boy tries to warn her, shouting that she is the target. The general launches himself at her, accusing her of disrespecting the great emperor. Mary reacts fast, firing a massive lightning storm at him, but the general is powered by the souls of his dead interns. He slices through the lightning like it is cheap CGI. Mary is shocked, unable to believe her strongest attack was cancelled out so easily. The general lands a devastating hit. Mary collapses to the ground, bleeding and defeated. The general stands over her, monologuing about how her life will pay for her insolence, and adds that the evil god in the chair is next on the menu. Seeing his human shield get taken down, our protagonist is consumed by rage. Behind him, the creepy monster from the game chest appears as a hallucination. The system triggers a terrifying notification from Soundless Nightmare. It tells him that this is a nightmare that has not happened yet, but it is a fate that will happen soon. Basically, the game just showed him a bad ending cutscene. The system offers him a choice. It asks if he wants to change this mortal fate using his authority. The price tag is a hefty 100,000 gold coins. Our boy does not hesitate. He hits the yes button, and his hard-earned crypto vanishes instantly. Time rewinds. The world blurs and shifts back to the moment before the general attacked. This time, Mary feels a chill down her spine, sensing the danger before it happens. She thinks she might die, but before the invisible blades can hit her, the chains binding our hero shatter. He lunges forward and grabs her, pulling her out of the trajectory of the attack. His eyes are glowing with golden light, looking absolutely majestic. Mary stares up at him, her brain officially short-circuiting. She confirms in her heart that she was right all along. This man is her master. The general is confused and annoyed that his attack missed. He calls our boy a puny evil god and charges again. Our protagonist is done playing games. He looks at the giant insect and calls him an annoying pest. He activates his ultimate skill. He raises his hand and delivers the god's condemning middle finger. A massive explosion erupts, blowing the roof off the warehouse and incinerating everything in its path. The general screams praises to his emperor as he gets vaporized by the sheer power of a divine insult. When the dust settles, a small item drops to the ground. It is a knife. Mary is still on the floor, blushing furiously, looking at our hero like he is the love of her life. Our boy walks over to the loot and picks up the knife, trying to look cool. But the knife is searing hot from the explosion. He immediately breaks character, yelping in pain and juggling the hot weapon like a clown. He blows on his burnt fingers, hopping around and looking like a total idiot. The Lightning Queen has officially lost the plot. Instead of questioning why this guy has a magical knife or how he rewound time, she decides the most logical course of action is to become his unpaid intern. She starts cleaning up the destruction, practically vibrating with excitement. Our hero tries to stop her, confused by this sudden shift from superhero to housekeeper, but she is on a mission. She holds up the knife and asks where she should use it, while our boy just wonders if she hit her head during the fight. Then, things get weird. She drops to her knees, looking at him with starry eyes, and begs him to be her master. She asks him to make her stronger. Our protagonist stares at her, terrified, wondering if he accidentally walked into a weird roleplay scenario. He tries to back out, explaining he is just a G-rank nobody who writes novels, but she is not hearing it. She points out that the ring he gave her turned her into a human taser, so clearly, he is lying to be humble. To prove her worth, she apparently decides to go on a home improvement spree. We cut to his apartment, which has transformed from a burnout cave into a lovely living space covered in flowery wallpaper. Our boy looks around, shocked that his depression den actually looks like a home. Just as they are about to celebrate with black bean noodles, a massive rumble echoes through the room. It sounds like thunder, but it is actually Mary's stomach. Before they can order food, her phone buzzes with an emergency alert. She has to go save the city again. She prepares to leave, not through the door like a normal person, but through the window because she has a reputation to uphold. Our boy stops her for a second. He quickly buys another blessing of the growing god from his shop. He tosses the bottle to her, telling her to drink it if she needs help. She catches it, looking at him like he just gave her the crown jewels. She compares him to the top S-class hunter, calls him master one last time, and dives out the window. Our boy watches her go, realizing he is once again eating dinner alone. We cut to a restaurant where our hero is finally getting his food. But on the TV screen, breaking news reveals that an S-class Drake has spawned right on top of the Congress building. Politicians are probably running for their lives, which is the most exercise they have gotten in years. Mary arrives on the scene, engaging the giant lizard monster alone. She saves a civilian woman, telling her to run, and then turns to face the beast. Her inner monologue kicks in, but instead of worrying about the giant dragon trying to eat her, she is terrified that her older sister will find out she is fighting alone. Clearly, her family trauma is stronger than her survival instinct. She blasts the Drake with a massive lightning bolt, knocking it down. The crowd goes wild, cheering for the Lightning Empress. She stands there looking cool, thinking she has won. But because she forgot the double tap rule, the Drake gets back up immediately and smacks her into the pavement. She hits the ground hard, clutching her knee. The crowd's cheering turns to screaming as the monster charges at her. Bleeding and desperate, she remembers the gift her master gave her. She pulls out the potion bottle. Without reading the label or questioning why it looks suspicious, she chugs the entire thing. Immediately, a massive golden aura explodes around her. The potion, which we lovingly recall is made of sweat, kicks in. She stands up, fully healed and glowing with yellow energy, ready to show this lizard why you should never interrupt a girl before dinner. As the monster is about to attack the civilians, the Lightning Queen decides to wrap things up with a massive storm, proving that property damage is just a necessary side effect of heroism. We cut back to a restaurant where our protagonist is shoveling food in his face while watching the news. The diners around him are amazed that a student-looking girl just soloed an S-class monster. Our voice sits there, arrogantly thinking, who is teaching whom, as if he did anything other than hand her a bottle of mysterious fluids. Then, the reporter interviews Mary, asking how she feels about the promotion. Instead of thanking the government or her parents, she looks directly into the camera and screams, "Master, are you watching? I did it." She credits the potion he gave her and calls him the best ever, effectively dooming him to a life of viral internet fame and conspiracy theories. Back in his apartment, our hero checks his phone and sees the views hitting 2 million. He wonders why a famous influencer is eating dinner at his trashy apartment instead of a 5-star hotel. Mary is munching on food, thanking him for the meal like it is the best thing she has ever tasted. He asks why she is not home with her family, assuming her parents must be worried sick about their daughter fighting dragons. Mary drops the mood instantly by saying there is no one to worry about her because her parents died in another dragon incident. Our boy realizes he just put his foot in his mouth big time, bringing up a global tragedy that killed millions just to make small talk. Just as he is feeling guilty, the system interrupts with a notification. It says the trust value is met and he can activate faith if the target says the key phrase, "I trust you." He immediately switches from guilt to gamer mode, realizing he needs those coin bonuses. He asks Mary for a favor and tells her to repeat after him. He makes her say, "I trust you," claiming it is hard to pronounce or something, effectively gaslighting her into pledging her soul to him. The system congratulates him on his first follower, marry, and unlock skill sharing. He is annoyed he did not get cold hard cash and calls it a trash game. Meanwhile, a portal opens behind Mary, and a delegation of ants arrives carrying a chest. They are here to praise the evil god and offer tribute. Our boy, oblivious to the visitors, decides to test out the new lightning storm skill he just leached off his follower. He accidentally nukes his living room again, frying the ant delegation instantly before they can even say hello. Mary is thrilled, amazed that her master can use lightning too, completely ignoring the smell of burnt insects. Our boy is crying, not for the dead ants, but for the repair fees he will have to pay for blowing up his house twice in 1 week. Back in the game world, the Emperor is furious that his delegation was slaughtered without a word. He kills the messenger and vows to take the head of this arrogant, evil god for the insult, proving that interdimensional diplomacy is going poorly. Back in reality, Mary is running laps like a maniac. Our boy watches her, impressed she can run that fast without magic. She asks if she should do more after finishing 100 laps, treating this like a light warm-up. He gives her a drink, noting that what tastes like Red Bull to him acts like a super serum for her. She asks for the next training regiment, suggesting squats. He realizes he has no idea how to train her since he is just a gamer, so he uses his blind god's eye to inspect her. Instead of stats, he sees a terrifying vision of a massive lion chained up inside her, surrounded by yellow lightning. Our boy is currently staring deep into the Lightning Queen's soul, which is rude without permission. But what he finds is terrifying. It is not a dark secret or an embarrassing memory, but a massive lion wrapped in heavy chains. The system kindly informs him that this is Mary's true nature, an SS-rank power that has been sealed away for 10 years. Basically, she is a Ferrari engine trapped inside a beat-up Honda Civic. He decides to play locksmith. He points his trusty crushing forefinger at the spectral chains. Since this skill is basically a universal remote for destruction, he manages to chip away a piece of the seal. He wonders who on earth would chain up a monster like this, probably because they were tired of paying for the property damage she causes. Mary wakes up from the trance, feeling lighter. She thanks him and takes off running. And when I say running, I mean she leaves a cartoon dust cloud behind her. She is moving so fast she practically breaks the sound barrier without using any magic. Our hero watches her go, realizing that once those chains are fully gone, she is going to be a terrifying force of nature. But he has bigger problems. He looks around his apartment, which currently features a skylight he did not ask for. The lightning storm turned his ceiling into Swiss cheese. He is standing in the ruins of his security deposit, wondering how he is going to explain to his landlord that a god and a lightning mage had a rave in his living room. Suddenly, his phone blows up. It is not his editor this time. It is a divine bidding war. The god named Soundless Nightmare, who we have established is a total creep, sends a message looking at him sorrowfully. Then another god, the Thousand Blade that cuts all, jumps in. Apparently, the knife our boy picked up belongs to this blade god, and he wants it back. The two gods start fighting over our protagonist like he is the last item on a Black Friday sale. The blade god offers over 2 million coins and a skill called Ultra Blade. Soundless Nightmare laughs at this lowball offer and counters with 10 million coins and a skill called Rose that blooms at night. Our boy realizes he is sitting on a gold mine. He decides to be a greedy little gremlin and accepts everything. He takes the coins, the skills, and the treasures, effectively scamming 2 deities at once. Now filthy rich but still living in a hole, he decides to test his new toys. He tries the Rose skill first. Nothing happens. The system informs him it only activates when he is asleep. He is furious. He just sold his soul for a passive naptime bonus. Impatient, he activates the Ultra Blade instead. Immediately, his eyes lose focus. A dark, intrusive thought takes over his brain. He wants to cut. He wants to cut everything. The urge consumes him. He grabs the knife and starts sprinting out of his apartment like a lunatic. He runs into the streets, twitching and mumbling, looking for something, anything to slice. Meanwhile, an innocent office lady is walking home, thinking about how she had a good day at work. She has no idea that a possessed author with a knife fetish is currently barreling toward her location. We shift to a stealth mission that is going horribly wrong. A squad of ants have infiltrated our hero's apartment while he is sleeping. The ant general is feeling very confident, monologuing about how today will go down in history. He orders his army to attack, convinced they are about to assassinate the evil god in his sleep. But instead of a gruesome death scene, absolutely nothing happens. The army is confused, realizing its attack just vanished. The general is baffled. It turns out that the Rose that blooms at night skill our boy got from the creepy stalker god allows him to absorb attacks while he sleeps. Basically, his nap is more powerful than their entire army. The sun rises, and our protagonist wakes up rubbing his stomach. He complains that he feels full, completely unaware that he just ate a nightmare for breakfast. He checks his phone and sees a desperate plea from the Holy Maiden. It turns out his ant followers are currently suffering from a severe drug addiction. The system tells him they are hooked on killer bee venom. Our boy is confused. wondering how digital ants manage to find a drug dealer. He furiously searches the internet for a cure, asking what to give to ants addicted to poison. The system suggests a miracle. It tells him that for the low price of 100,000 coins and a piece of the world tree fruit, he can perform a divine intervention. He sighs, realizing his bank account is about to take a hit, but he pays up. He activates the miracle, and in the game world, golden rain starts falling from the sky. The ants rejoice, washing away the venom and praising his name. They decide to build a statue in his honor, because they are a dramatic bunch. Back in reality, our boy is exhausted. He looks up to find the Lightning Queen sitting in his room again. She has been waiting for him to wake up because apparently, boundaries do not exist anymore. She probably presents a gift from the ants. It is the statue. Our hero stares at it. The system ruthlessly describes it as a statue made of credit cards and fanaticism, with the special trait of being ugly. Our boy agrees. It is hideous. But Mary looks at it with starry eyes, saying it looks cute and asks if she can keep it. Our protagonist realizes she needs to get her eyes checked, but he lets her have the monstrosity. He turns back to his computer to check on his investments. The sprout of the world tree is sick. He tries to feed it a growth potion, but it does not work. He needs a high-tier item called Tears of Bountiful Abundance. It costs 20,000 coins, which is fine, but there is a catch. To buy it, he has to complete a good deed quest. He is annoyed. He just saved a civilization from drug addiction, but apparently, that does not count. He heads outside to pick up trash to raise his good deed score, muttering about how saving the world involves so much manual labor. As he is picking up garbage, a homeless-looking man yells at him. The man is angry that some kid is encroaching on his turf. Our boy, trying to be nice and boost his score, offers the man some money for a warm meal. The man explodes with rage. He screams, asking if the kid dares to give alms to Joy Kong-sun. Our boy freezes. He recognizes the name. This dirty, angry man is actually a legendary S-class hunter who used to be a street cleaner. Our protagonist realizes he just tried to bribe a celebrity with pocket change. He quickly pivots, claiming he was just disposing of the money as trash. The man calms down, realizing they are both freelancers who enjoy solitude. They share a brief moment of male bonding over their mutual dislike of people. But the bromance is cut short. Someone nearby screams. A monster has appeared, because God forbid our hero has 5 minutes of peace to pick up litter. And just like that, the S-class janitor decides that consent is optional, and he grabs our protagonist by the collar and launches them both into the sky. Our boy screams, realizing that this is not a team-up, it is a kidnapping. They soar 30 floors into the air, and while our hero is busy seeing his life flash before his eyes, the old man is laughing like a maniac, clearly enjoying the terrified screams of his passenger. They crash land at the scene of the monster outbreak, a place the old man calls the Miracle Mansion. Our boy promptly passes out face first on the concrete, which is honestly the most logical reaction to being thrown off a building. The old man looks at him and assumes he just fainted from excitement. He decides this is a great training opportunity and jokes about having frog legs for dinner, referring to the monster in front of them. The monster, a grotesque frog-looking creature, demands the boy. It calls him the young god and claims him as a sacrifice for its master. The old man steps in, ready to throw hands, telling the frog to get in line. But just as the fight is about to start, the system decides to play the game for our sleeping hero. Because our boy is unconscious, his passive skill, Rose That Blooms at Night, activates. A massive, terrifying shadow flower erupts from his body. The frog monster screams as it gets instantly devoured by the nightmare plant. The old man watches in horror, realizing that the kid he kidnapped is actually a walking horror movie. Our protagonist wakes up groggily, wondering why he had such a nice nap. He sees a robed figure, presumably the Aunt Santis, appearing in a vision to thank him. He looks to his side and sees the legendary S-class hunter curled up in a fetal position on the ground, covered in slobber. The old man is traumatized, mumbling about being eaten by a big flower and falling into the sewers. Our boy looks at him and assumes the guy just fell into a ditch, completely unaware that his own sleep apnea demon is the reason the man is broken. The system congratulates him for defeating the evil god's subordinate while literally sleeping on the job. It rewards him with the Tears of Bountiful Abundance. He immediately uses it on the world tree sprout. The tree heals instantly, and the ants are so grateful they send him another tribute. It is another statue. The system describes it as the stone shard of Uil Shin. We cut to a fancy office where the chairman of the Hunter Association is talking to his assistant. They are discussing the S-class janitor, Joy Kong-sun. They mention that he is back from the hospital, but has developed a severe phobia of flowers. The chairman wonders if he has allergies, completely missing the fact that the poor guy saw a man-eating plant consume a monster. They decide that this mentally scarred man is the perfect teacher for Mary, the Lightning Queen. Because nothing says good education like a teacher with PTSD. Back at the apartment, our hero is annoyed. He now has 2 ugly statues and a stalker on his tail. His phone buzzes with a text from the ants. Yes, the ants are texting him now. The white ant saintess pleads for help, saying their beautiful tribe is being attacked by morning beasts. Our boy decides to step in and save his followers. He asks to be taken to the beasts, ready to crush some legendary monsters. The system transports his view to the battlefield. He scans the terrifying morning beasts. The system identifies them as summoned cockroaches. They are roaches. Just giant, disgusting cockroaches. They are multiplying every hour. Our boy freezes, his face twisting in pure disgust. He realizes his epic divine war is actually just an exterminator job. The digital apocalypse has officially begun, and by apocalypse I mean a bunch of cockroaches are terrorizing the ant kingdom. The ants are losing their absolute minds, screaming that the morning beasts are multiplying faster than a viral trend and that they are all going to die. They are convinced their god has abandoned them, which is incredibly dramatic, but honestly I would also panic if a cockroach the size of a skyscraper was looking at me. Meanwhile, the evil god in question is currently running around his apartment armed with a can of bug spray. He hates cockroaches with a burning passion, so he is unleashing chemical warfare in his living room while the game interprets his frantic spraying as divine smiting. Back in the game, the white ant saintess is relieved that the beasts are dying, but because she has zero chill, she immediately asks to be executed for daring to doubt him for a second. Our boy tells her to calm down because he really does not need a martyr on his conscience right now. Just then the system offers him a new authority called God's Multiplying Creation for 100 coins. Since that is basically pocket change, he buys it without thinking, claiming he will feed on the trials to become stronger, which is just a fancy way of saying he is addicted to this game. But real life comes knocking in the form of a very drunk and very angry manager. Our boy meets up with his editor, who is currently 3 sheets to the wind and screaming at him for being slow with his manuscript. While the manager is ranting about professionalism, our hero is literally staring at his phone playing the game because the ants are spamming him with notifications. The manager loses it, calling him a loser for playing games while being scolded. Our protagonist, who is also feeling the effects of alcohol, snaps back, and they start having a shouting match in the middle of the restaurant until a waiter politely tells them to shut up. Back in the digital world, the war is won. The ants are chanting praises to Il Shin for exterminating the roaches. Suddenly, a massive system notification drops. Because he defeated a god of destruction class enemy, which is hilarious, because it was just a roach, he gets a reward of 300 million god coins. Yes, you heard that right. 300 million. But wait, it gets better. A god named Everlasting Bountiful Prosperity decides to be his sugar daddy and sponsors a free purchase of any authority in the shop. Our boy, who is drunk and high on victory, decides to go big. He hiccups and chooses the most expensive item on the menu, the creation of heaven and earth, priced at 1 trillion coins. The system practically glitches out. It realizes our boy is a total noob with a level way too low for this god tier skill, so it compromises and gives him a fake creation of heaven and earth limited to 1 use. Suddenly, the fabric of reality starts acting up. We cut to our favorite Thunder Scent Mary, who rushes to the window with her sister. They look up and see a massive glowing golden moon appearing in the night sky. But they are not the only ones watching. Somewhere in a dark lair, the guildmaster is standing around completely naked, because apparently villainy does not pay enough for trousers. He stares at the golden moon while letting it all hang out and decides this is the perfect time to sacrifice 2,000 people to grant his wish. It is truly bold of him to talk about saving the ugly world when he is the one subjecting everyone to his birthday suit, but alas, villains just have no sense of decorum. The world governments are currently losing their collective minds over the giant golden moon that just appeared out of nowhere. NASA decides to send a rocket to poke it with a stick, but the mission fails spectacularly. The astronauts report that passing through the gas surrounding the moon is impossible, which is science talk for we are not allowed in the VIP section. Experts immediately start panic-mongering, predicting that dungeons and gates are going to start popping up like acne on a teenager, so the Hunter Association calls for an emergency global conference. Meanwhile, our main character is suffering from a massive headache, but not because of the impending apocalypse. He is just trying to manage his overachieving disciple. The Thunder Simp has just finished running 500 laps, which is frankly terrifying cardio. She asks if she should start doing planks next, but our boy decides it is time to play locksmith again. He activates his Eye of the Blind God and dives back into her inner world. He sees the massive lightning lines still wrapped in chains and looking very grumpy. Using his crushing index finger, he snaps 2 more chains like they are made of paper. He notes that there are still a lot of chains left, but decides to call it a day because he has an attention span of a goldfish. He tells her to be careful since there are bystanders watching, but secretly he is just glad his finger exercises are actually working. Then Mary drops a bomb. She looks at him with those big puppy eyes and begs him to give her a name. Our genius author pauses, and his massive brain immediately suggests the name Karen. Thankfully, he filters that out, and since she is technically a saintess, he decides to call her Auntie. It is a terrible name, but she blushes and accepts it like he just knighted her. Suddenly, the digital ants decide they want names too. They swarm the screen begging for an identity. Our hero, being the lazy icon that he is, realizes he cannot name thousands of bugs, so he just starts numbering them 1, 2, 3, and so on. He decides he has done enough parenting for one day and heads home. But the game is not done with him. A notification pops up saying that because he named the Saintess and his followers have leveled up, the entire tribe is evolving. The screen shifts, and suddenly the game graphics go from 8-bit retro to full-blown high-definition strategy game. The ants have become cute little chibi characters, and they are building houses, a church, and even an arena. It is literally Age of Empires but with bugs. Our boy is delighted that he can finally customize his civilization. He watches them farming and building walls, thinking they are getting cuter by the second. But then he spots a new building called the Warrior's Tower. The description says it is a challenge for the brave, but the survival rate is so low it is basically a suicide booth. He immediately panics and tries to collapse the entrance to stop his idiots from going in. He screams at his phone that none of them should enter even out of curiosity. But, of course, one specific ant stares at his own hands and decides to have a main character moment. He thinks that if he can become even a tiny bit stronger, he can protect his friends. He is absolutely going to enter that tower and cause problems later. Meanwhile, in the villain lair, the Red Ant Emperor is having a performance review with his staff. A shaman begs for mercy, claiming he can do better next time, but the Emperor is not a fan of second chances. He points a finger and shoots a purple beam, completely vaporizing the guy. He calls his own subjects useless bugs, which is ironic since he is also a bug. Just as he is about to go on another murderous rampage, a new challenger approaches. The Emperor's consort named Arachne enters the room. She has the body of a spider and the face of a beautiful lady, which is solid nightmare fuel. She tells the Emperor to chill out and focus on ascending to godhood while she handles the dirty work. She promises to hunt down the Black Tribe and our boy Yuilshin, proving that behind every genocidal maniac there is a woman ready to enable him. Arachne is plotting her next move. She decides to send one of her elite 10 swordsmen to assassinate the evil god. This elite assassin is a mosquito who has a massive ego and demands a taste of the god's blood, believing it will make him surpass the Emperor. He flies off dreaming of absolute power, proving that even bugs have toxic ambition. Back in reality, our protagonist is hyperventilating over his writing deadline. He is terrified his contract will be cancelled, so naturally he procrastinates by checking on his ant farm. He notices his followers have built cute little houses, but one specific ant catches his eye. It is a buff warrior ant lifting a rock bigger than his own body. The system introduces him as Ilho, a warrior dedicated to protecting his kin. Our boy decides to reward this gym rat with a potion. The ant receives the bottle and immediately starts crying tears of joy, thanking his god for the steroids, while our hero just grins and goes back to being sleepy. Suddenly, the elite mosquito assassin arrives at his apartment window. The bug monologues about drinking the blood of a god and gaining infinite power. He flies toward our sleeping hero, thinking he is stealthy and undetectable. He lands on the protagonist's forehead, ready to strike. Our boy feels a tickle. In a display of supreme disrespect, he slaps his own forehead without even opening his eyes. The elite swordsman of the Red Empire is instantly flattened into a bloody smear. Our hero wakes up looking at his hand and wondering why there are mosquitoes in the season. He wipes the legendary assassin off his face like it is common dirt and complains about the cold. Suddenly, he starts sneezing uncontrollably. It is not a normal sneeze, it is a gross fluid-filled explosion. He looks in the mirror and sees a weird mark on his forehead where the bug landed. The system informs him that he has been hit with a curse called the Abominable Plug, which sounds incredibly suspicious. His phone blows up with notifications. He has a fever curse, a pancreas malfunction, and anemia all activating at once. He is literally falling apart. He desperately searches the shop for a cure and finds a pill from a secret medical book for 50,000 coins. He buys it instantly, but the system decides to troll him. Instead of just healing him, it gives him a quest. To survive the sickness, he has to save 100 people. He is furious, asking why he has to do community service while his organs are failing, but he has no choice. He drags his dying body into a taxi and heads to the hospital. When he arrives, the situation goes from bad to chaotic. A terrorist is holding a nurse hostage, screaming that everyone will die if they move. Our favorite Thunder Sim Mary is already there trying to negotiate, telling him to let the nurse go. But then the terrorist spots our sickly protagonist. He sees the curse mark on our boy's forehead and his eyes light up. He completely misinterprets the situation, thinking the mark is a symbol of their secret brotherhood. He calls our hero brother and assumes he was sent as reinforcements for the mission. Our boy stands there confused and dying while Mary looks at him with betrayal in her eyes. She screams, asking what her teacher is doing there, implying he is an accomplice to terrorism. The terrorist yells at him to hurry up and help. Our protagonist realizes that thanks to a dead mosquito and a misunderstanding, he is now accidentally part of a hostage situation. The terrorist continues his delusion that our dying protagonist is his long-lost brother in arms. He starts rambling about offering a sacrifice to the god of destruction, while the Lightning Queen stands there completely offended. She is less concerned about the bomb and more angry that this random criminal called her teacher wicked. She screams at the guy, demanding to know why he is disrespecting her master, while our boy is literally shivering on the floor begging for medical attention. The terrorist decides he has had enough of this drama and prepares to detonate the bomb strapped to his chest. But our protagonist decides to be nosy before he dies. He uses his skill to read the terrorist's mind and gets a front row seat to a flashback. He sees the long-haired naked creep from earlier giving the orders to sacrifice people to summon a god. It confirms that the villain is not just an exhibitionist, he is also a micromanager. Back in reality, the terrorist screams that saving the world requires mass murder and goes to press the detonator. Our boy realizes that if he does not act, he is going to be blown into confetti. Even though he is barely conscious, he raises his trusty finger. With a subtle movement, he severs the connection inside the detonator using his invisible force. The terrorist clicks the button and absolutely nothing happens. He stands there looking awkward like a presenter whose PowerPoint just failed. Seizing the moment, the Lightning Queen charges in and knocks him out cold. The day is saved, but the adrenaline wears off and our hero finally passes out from his magical flu. While he is unconscious, the scene shifts to the Ant Empire where the generals are having a strategy meeting. We meet a green general and an orange general who are discussing how hard it is to kill our protagonist. They seem worried about the curse of necrosis, but the purple general insists they will succeed, because villains love being overconfident before they lose. Our boy wakes up in a strange blue spirit realm. A massive grotesque monster appears and starts trash-talking him immediately. It threatens to eat him and condemn him to eternal suffering, which is a bit much for a first date. But the system interrupts this monologue with a notification. It counts everyone in the hospital as a life saved. Since he saved over 1,200 people, the quest is complete. The system basically tells the monster to shut up because our boy has met the quota. He wakes up back in the real world with a pill in his mouth. The system informs him that the god of medicine has gifted him an elixir. He swallows it and immediately starts glowing with a bright green light. The curse vanishes and his body is fully restored. He is now healthy and glowing like a radioactive glow stick. Outside the hospital, the Lightning Queen is being swarmed by fans who are praising her for saving everyone. Our boy uses the distraction to slip away unnoticed because he hates social interaction more than he hates monsters. But he is being watched. We cut to a dark room where the long-haired naked disciple named Johann is watching the news footage. He scolds his underling for the failed bombing, but his eyes are fixed on our protagonist. He acts like a creep, sensing the favor of the gods on our boy. He orders his guild leader to kill the hunters and bring our boy to him within 4 days. The guild leader thinks his boss is insane, which is a fair assessment considering the lack of pants. Finally, back in the safety of his apartment, our hero flops onto his bed happy to be alive. But peace is illegal for him. His phone buzzes with a desperate message from the ant world. It is Ilho the warrior Auntie gave the potion to earlier. The ant is on the ground trembling and begging for more of that medicine. Our boy looks at the screen confused, wondering why his strongest warrior suddenly looks like he is going through withdrawal. We head back into the digital world where Ilho is currently suffering from a severe case of main character syndrome. Despite the game explicitly warning him that the survival rate is 1 in 100,000, he decides that statistics simply do not apply to him. He struts into the warrior's tower, puffing his chest out because he unlocked the soldier class and bought some shiny new armor. He genuinely believes he is the chosen one until the first floor trial of rock begins. It turns out the trial of rock is not a metaphor. A boulder the size of a minivan falls from the ceiling and immediately flattens him like a pancake. Our protagonist watches this disaster unfold on his screen and nearly has a heart attack. He screams at his phone as the system starts a 10-second countdown to permanent death. In a panic, he tries to feed the flattened ant a growth potion because apparently his first instinct is to give steroids to a corpse. The system politely reminds him that making a dead body bigger does not actually bring it back to life. With only 5 seconds left on the clock, our boy frantically scours the item shop. He finds a divine healing medicine for 100 coins and smashes the buy button like his life depends on it. The potion works its pay-to-win magic, and Ilho's crushed body inflates back to normal. The ant falls to his knees sobbing and thanking his god for the miracle, but our hero is just annoyed. He tells the idiot to get out of the tower immediately before he wastes more money. But the game decides to troll them both. When they try to leave, the door is locked. A cheerful system message pops up informing them that this is a trap dungeon and nobody leaves until they clear the 50th floor. Our boy realizes he's stuck babysitting this suicidally brave ant for the foreseeable future. He sighs and decides to buff him up. He drops a red potion into the inventory, which is basically liquid rage mixed with caffeine. Ilho drinks it and his eyes practically start glowing. When the next giant rock falls, the ant does not dodge. He pulls back his fist and punches the boulder so hard it explodes into dust. He is officially turned into One Punch Ant. Satisfied that his pet is not going to die, immediately our protagonist puts the phone away to deal with real life. He is sitting across from a large man in a suit named Kim, who claims to be a recruiter from the Brilliant Guild. The man drops a contract on the table with an annual salary of 300 million won. Our protagonist freezes. His brain completely shuts down. He forgets about saving the world and protecting the ants because all he can see is dollar signs. He starts fantasizing about premium beef fried rice, buying expensive gifts for his niece, and finally moving out of his sad little apartment. He is drooling over the contract, ready to sign his soul away for financial stability. But just as he picks up the pen, a tiny alarm bell rings in his head. He decides to use his Eye of the Blind God skill to appraise the recruiter just to be safe. The system window pops up and the vibe shifts instantly. The man is not a recruiter. The system identifies him as a lackey of the god of destruction. Our boy stops breathing. He realizes this guy is not here to give him a job, he is a co-worker of the terrorist bomber from the hospital. The 300 million won was just a trap to lure him in. He tries to keep his poker face, but he is sweating bullets. He tells the man he needs to use the bathroom before signing, hoping the guy does not notice his trembling hands. He rushes into the bathroom and locks the door. He stares at himself in the mirror, hyperventilating, and wondering why his life is a constant stream of disasters. He grabs his phone, debating whether to call the Hunter Association or the police, but he hesitates too long. Suddenly, the bathroom wall explodes. The recruiter smashes right through the tiles like a terrifying version of the Kool-Aid Man. Debris flies everywhere, and our boy stands there clutching his phone in terror. The villain steps through the hole in the wall, completely unbothered by the property damage, and asks who he is trying to call. Our hero realizes that privacy is dead, the toilet is destroyed, and he is absolutely screwed. The recruiter decides that negotiation is boring and punches our protagonist straight in the stomach. He informs our boy that he is being kidnapped, which is honestly the worst way to start a business relationship. He grabs our hero by the neck and starts strangling him, promising to send him to sleep painlessly if he stops struggling. But the system has other plans. A notification pops up with a new quest called Save the Believer. It turns out the Lightning Queen is currently staring death in the face and needs rescuing. Our boy is furious that his favorite disciple is in danger, but he is currently losing a wrestling match with the villain. He realizes he needs raw power and he needs it now. His eyes start glowing and he mentally connects to his most loyal follower in the ant world. It is Ilho, the warrior ant, who screams that he will lend his god his strength. The system activates the skill Steel Body. Suddenly, our protagonist's muscles bulge, and his shirt rips apart like he is auditioning for a superhero movie. The recruiter stares in shock as the scrawny rider he was strangling suddenly turns into a tank. He tries to rationalize it, thinking our boy is just a newbie with high stats because he is throwing reckless punches without any technique. The villain dodges a heavy swing and sneers, thinking he has this in the bag. He is wrong. Our boy does not need technique when he has the strength of a genetically modified insect. He feints a punch and then delivers the most disrespectful slap in history right across the villain's face. Teeth fly out and the recruiter stumbles back, completely dazed. Before he can recover, our hero stops a punch in midair and knocks him out cold. With the trash taken out, our boy immediately pulls out his phone to call Mary. The call fails because of course it does. He screams at the game to help him find her. The system helpfully introduces a new feature called the Believer Management System, which is basically a stalking app for gods. But there is a catch. To locate her, he has to pay 1,000 coins. He pays the fee without hesitation because he is flush with cash. The map reveals she is being attacked by a sword demon. The system warns him that he has foreseen her disastrous fate, which is a fancy way of saying she is about to be turned into shish kebab. It asks if he wants to change destiny for the low price of 100,000 coins. He hits yes immediately. He remembers he has a weapon for this exact situation. He pulls out the knife he got earlier and prepares to warp. We cut to Mary, who is on the ground facing a man with a sword who claims he is just doing his job. He raises his blade to finish her off, but suddenly our protagonist appears out of nowhere. The sword demon is confused because his stealth skill should have made him undetectable. Our boy stands there with glowing red eyes, looking absolutely terrifying. He tells the villain to be silent. Mary looks up, shocked to see her teacher, but our hero is not focused on pleasantries. The curse of the Ultra Blade takes over his mind again. He grips the knife and stares at the enemy with only one thought in his head. He wants to cut this guy into little pieces. We jump straight into the mind of the sword demon, who is having a serious main character moment. He is busy reflecting on his tragic backstory and how he defeated countless rivals to reach the peak of swordsmanship. But his deep introspection hits a brick wall when he actually looks at his opponent. Our boy is standing there, eyes completely glazed over like a zombie, holding a fruit knife. That is right. While the assassin is wielding a legendary blade capable of slicing stone, our hero looks like he is ready to aggressively peel a pear for an afternoon snack, all while his possessed brain just screams, "I want to cut." The sword demon is rightfully offended. He thinks our boy is mocking him with cheap tricks and decides to punish him for bringing cutlery to a sword fight. He launches a strike that he claims even S-class hunters could not handle, but our boy casually blocks the devastating attack with a tiny fruit knife. The assassin is absolutely shook, wondering how a piece of budget kitchenware just stopped his ultimate move. He tries to cope, telling himself he just underestimated the opponent. He unleashes another slash, but our possessed author just mutters "cut" and deflects it again. The assassin starts spiraling. Realizing he is losing to a guy with a paring knife, he decides to cheat. He pulls out a potion that consumes his own lifespan, chugs it, and instantly hulks out with the mark of the god of destruction. He charges up for one final, life-ending attack. Our boy does not even flinch. He parries the attack, snaps the assassin's legendary sword in half like a twig, and then, in a move straight out of a horror movie, spins his head a full 180 degrees. He slashes at the terrifyingly close assassin with the fruit knife. The sword demon closes his eyes, accepting death, but when he opens them, he is alive and uninjured. Naturally, He completely misunderstands the situation. He assumes our boy showed him divine mercy and spared his life on purpose. He asks, "Just who are you?" Our boy, still high on possession fumes, declares, "I am the sword god." Suddenly, the possession timer runs out. The system ruthlessly cuts the connection, and our hero wakes up, dropping the knife, which immediately turns back into a rusty piece of junk. But the brainwashing is already done. The assassin drops to his knees, worshipping him. He pledges his life to the sword god, promising to do anything he asks, and even offers to cut his own stomach open just to prove his loyalty. Our boy thinks this guy is insane, but the system pings with a notification: "Sword Demon is now your second follower." The new fanatic immediately proves his worth by feeding Mary a high-grade healing potion. Our boy is relieved she is safe, but he is officially done with people messing with him. He looks at this unhinged assassin and remembers that the Shin Guild hired him. A devilish idea forms. He asks the assassin, "You said you would listen to anything I say, right?" The fanatic confirms it instantly. Our hero grins and gives his first command: "Take care of the Shin Guild for me." The assassin bows low, honored to destroy them. Our boy watches him go, deciding that if his enemies want to treat people like expendable tools, he will just send their own weapon back to destroy them. We pick up right where we left off, with our boy unlocking a new authority thanks to the fanaticism of his new follower. The skill is called the Proliferating Thumb of the God, which honestly sounds less like a divine power and more like a medical condition. But our hero immediately sees the potential. He rushes home, frantically searching for his emergency funds, which amount to a single, sad 101 coin. He tries to use the thumb scale to duplicate the money, dreaming of infinite wealth. Naturally, the system shuts him down immediately, informing him that the skill does not work on inanimate objects. Our boy throws the coin in a fit of rage, screaming about why he cannot just have an easy life for once. Suddenly, the gods decide to backseat game again. Soundless Nightmare tells him to pull himself together and uphold the majesty of a god. He suggests building bad karma through carnage. Another god, endlessly granting abundance, chimes in, suggesting he build good karma instead. Our protagonist thinks for a moment and decides to be greedy. Why choose one when he can do both? He decides to play both sides of the moral compass. First, he uses the Proliferating Thumb to multiply his ant army. In seconds, 1 million troops of the Black Tribe are marching toward the enemy. Then he switches to the Healing Ring Finger to heal the injured, racking up good karma points as the ants praise his name. It is a perfect scam. Break them with one hand, fix them with the other, and profit from the worship. But reality comes crashing in via phone call. It is his manager, and he is screaming. The deadline has passed, the manuscript is missing, and the president of the publishing company wants to terminate the contract. Our boy stammers about taking a break for personal reasons, but the manager is not having it. Desperate times call for stupid measures. Our genius author wonders, what if I use the Proliferating Thumb on myself? He figures if there are two of him, he can force the clone to write the novel while he plays games. He activates the skill, and a huge red light fills the room. It works. A second version of our hero appears. But this clone is not just a copy. He is taller, better dressed, and infinitely more attractive. He is the premium version of our budget protagonist. The system notes the clone will last for 666 seconds, which is definitely not an ominous number at all. Our boy arrogantly orders the clone to start writing the manuscript. The clone responds by immediately slapping him across the face. Our hero is shocked, but the clone does not stop there. He calls the original a dumb bastard and punches him again for good measure, calling him a frustrating loser. The manager is still on the phone, confused by the sounds of domestic violence. The clone grabs the phone, tells the manager to F*** off, and hangs up. He then turns his attention to the game. He declares, "Shall we go?" and dives straight into the digital world. Inside the game, the situation is dire for the ants. The Black Tribe warriors are trembling in fear as massive monsters approach them. But suddenly, a red light tears through the sky. The sexy clone descends like a demon. He does not just fight, he obliterates. He wipes out the monsters with a single glare, earning the title of Cruel Slayer. The enemy monsters are terrified, realizing this is an evil god they have only heard about in legends. We cut to the enemy headquarters, where the Violet General, Arachnu, receives the bad news. Her messenger, missing an arm and traumatized, reports that their entire army was annihilated by a single entity. Arachne is furious, but the messenger warns her not to fight a being that looks like the devil himself before dissolving into nothingness. The enemy generals are panicked. They realize the Emperor is currently in a closed-door meditation session, probably doing bug yoga or something. Arachne decides they cannot wait. She orders the General of the 10 Swords to bring her the evil god's head immediately. One of the elite warriors bows, promising to kill the god before he even says goodbye. Back in the real world, our original protagonist wakes up on the floor, beaten black and blue. He realizes his clone beat him up simply because there was no one else around to do it. He's furious at his own creation. To add insult to injury, the system pops up with a notification from Endlessly Granting Abundance. The god is asking where the sexy other self went and if our boy can introduce them. Even the gods are thirsting over the clone. Our boy ignores the divine flirting and checks his phone. He has 121 missed calls. Then the text comes through. The manager has officially terminated his contract and is demanding the advance payment back. Our hero screams in frustration. He checks the game, hoping for good news. The system tells him that his ants have successfully completed missionary work in neighboring kingdoms, leveling up his titles and earning him coins. The system is absolutely losing its mind. It starts spamming our protagonist with notifications, announcing that his ant followers are getting promoted left and right. We have a beginner massive warrior, a spearman, and even a military band. Apparently, the ants are starting a marching band while our boy is hyperventilating about his real-life writing deadline. He shots at the screen, asking what the point of all this is when his manager is currently threatening to terminate his contract and sue him for the advance payment. He furiously types away on his laptop, trying to save his career, but the system interrupts again with a new quest, Save the Fanatic Believer. Our boy tries to hit the ignore button because he has actual work to do, but the game forces a cutscene. We shift perspectives to the sword demon, who is currently tied up and having a terrible time. He is being interrogated by his former co-workers from the Shinigami. First, there is a girl named Xiaomi, who is blessed by the god of destruction and wields fire. She is slapping him around, calling him boring. Then there is a massive guy named Kalu, whose system description literally notes that he has pretty impressive muscles. Our boy watches this hostage situation through the screen, realizing that the Shin Guild did not get destroyed. They just captured his follower. He uses his authority to peek into the sword demon's memories, and we get a tragic backstory montage. It turns out the sword demon, Xiaomi, and Musclehead were all raised together as child assassins in the Dark House. They were rivals. But while the other two were busy being jealous, the sword demon was busy becoming the teacher's pet of murder. He surpassed them, and they have been salty about it ever since. Back in the present, the two jealous co-workers are threatening to kill him. They reveal that a man named Priest Johann wants him alive for a sacrifice, but the muscle guy decides he would rather just beat him to death now. Our boy realizes he cannot let his investment die. He decides to intervene. He activates skill sharing and borrows the steel body ability from his noble one-ant warrior. He bursts onto the scene, saving the sword demon just in time. The muscle guy is shocked and asks who he is. Our boy, trying to look cool, clenches his fist and says he is a busy man. Then our genius author gets a bright idea. He thinks, what if I combine the ant's steel body with Mary's lightning skill? He imagines wiping them out in one hit. He activates the lightning. Immediately, a system warning pops up screaming, status overload. Because he is made of conductive steel, he effectively tases himself. He stands there twitching while the muscle guy stares at him, wondering if this guy is okay. The muscle guy decides to attack the twitching intruder. He delivers a devastating kick to our hero's neck. But thanks to the steel body, it is like kicking a lamppost. The muscle guy's leg snaps, and he collapses in agony. Our boy, still smoking from his own lightning, realizes he almost died but played it off like a tank. Now it is the fire girl's turn. She is furious, screaming, "How dare you!" and unleashes a massive torrent of flames. Our boy thinks this is the end. He imagines himself being cooked alive. But then the system notifies him that steel body has high heat resistance. Instead of burning, he feels like he's sitting in a really nice natural hot tub. He stands inside the inferno, grinning because it actually feels kind of good. The girl is horrified. She thinks he is a monster who cannot be burnt. Our boy, realizing he is invincible, casually walks through the fire. He dismisses her flames with a wave of his hand and delivers a disrespectful slap across her face, knocking her out cold. The fight is over. The system congratulates him on completing the rescue quest and mentions his talent is blooming. Our boy hopes this means he will become a better writer, but the sword demon interrupts the moment. The fanatic is on his knees, praising the sword god for defeating the enemies with such unique methods, conveniently ignoring that the method was mostly accidental self-electrocution. Our boy tells him to stop looking at him with those starry eyes because he just wants to go home and write his novel. But as they turn to leave, a voice calls out from the shadows. A man steps forward, praising our hero's power. The sword demon immediately panics, telling our boy to be careful. The new arrival is Priest Johann, the apostle of the god of destruction. Our boy looks at the final boss. The man is standing there with long hair and intense aura, and absolutely zero clothes. That is right. The terrifying villain is completely naked. Our boy stares at him, his face twisting into an expression of pure judgment. He thinks to himself that he has encountered a wild pervert. He even considers making a joke about the situation, because apparently, the only thing scarier than an evil god is an evil god who forgot to put on pants. Our boy tries to analyze the threat, but honestly, it is hard to focus on strategy when your opponent is fighting in his birthday suit. The system cannot even give a proper reading, probably because the sheer audacity of this man is blocking the signal. The priest starts trembling with excitement, calling our hero brother, which is the last thing you want a naked man in a dungeon to call you. He's thrilled to meet a fellow apostle, vibrating with creepy energy. The sword demon, bless his loyal heart, decides to step in. He shouts for the villain to stay back, trying to protect his new god. But the priest just backhands him like a fly. The sword demon, the guy who gave the Lightning Queen a run for her money, flies across the room and is knocked out cold with a single slap. Our boy is horrified. He realizes that his meat shield just got one shot. The priest turns his attention back to our hero, asking which god he serves. Our boy, terrified but still sassy, screams "fuck off" and unleashes a lightning strike right at the villain's face. But the priest just stands there. The lightning hits him, burns him, and then he heals. Our boy watches in despair as the skin regenerates instantly. He realizes with horror that this is not just a pervert, he is an immortal pervert. The absolute worst kind. The priest laughs, mocking the attack. He asks if that is all his brother can do and demands to be entertained more. Our protagonist is spiraling. Physical attacks do not work. Lightning does not work. He wonders if he is going to die here, killed by a streaker in a basement. Meanwhile, in the digital world, things are going from bad to worse. The enemy Green Warrior from the Red Empire has arrived at the Black Tribe village. He is not there for a tea party. He plans to poison the entire food supply. The game logic is ruthless. If the believers die, the god's power weakens. Our boy is about to get nerfed in real time. Back in the dungeon, our boy is desperate. He needs backup. He decides to roll the dice and activates the proliferating thumb again. The sexy clone returns. Our hero flinches, terrified that his own clone will beat him up again like last time. He thinks, surely he won't team kill when there is an enemy right there. The clone looks at the naked priest, then back at our boy, and delivers some exposition with a side of judgment. The clone warns him that the ant tribe is in danger. He explains that if the believers die, all the power vanishes. Basically, while our boy is playing around with the naked guy, his entire power source is about to drink poison. The priest is offended that the two clones are having a team meeting in the middle of a fight. He screams, asking how they dare ignore him, and launches a massive attack. The sexy clone dodges effortlessly, because of course he does. He shouts a command to the original, "Burn that weak bastard." Our boy is confused. He wonders what he means by burn. Then it clicks. He looks at his hand. He remembers he has a specific skill for fire, and it happens to be the most disrespectful gesture in his arsenal. He grins. He realizes that if lightning does not work, maybe a flaming insult will. He raises his hand and prepares to flip the bird with the power of the sun. Loving the story so far? A like and subscribe are very much appreciated. It really helps the channel grow and lets me get these recaps out to you even faster. Thanks a lot, and let's get back into it. Our hero prepares to unleash his newest, most disrespectful skill. He raises his hand, and a small, pathetic flame flickers to life on the tip of his middle finger. He is trembling with rage, but honestly, it looks less like a divine attack and more like he is trying to light a cigarette in the wind. The naked apostle is unimpressed. He asks if that is his last trick and begins charging up a massive purple aura. Our boy realizes one finger isn't enough, so he decides to multitask. He combines God's multiplying thumb with God's condemning middle finger. Suddenly, he isn't just flipping the bird. He is projecting a barrage of flaming middle fingers at his opponent. It is a technique that screams, "I hate you," in every language. The apostle smiles, probably thinking this is cute, and launches his purple death wave. Our boy braces for impact, thinking he has been team killed by his own clone's advice. He starts crying, lamenting that his life is ending at the hands of a wild pervert. But then the apostle stops. The villain looks down at his body. His regeneration isn't working. The system pops up to explain that he is being consumed by the brutal firework. Our boy is confused. Wishing the system would explain these things before he has a mental breakdown. The fire from the middle finger isn't just hot, it burns through regeneration. The apostle collapses, trembling in pain, proving that insults really do hurt. Meanwhile, in the game world, the sexy clone is cleaning house. The green general of the enemy army is busy gloating about poisoning the black tribe, but he stops when he feels a chill. He looks up to see the clone, who radiates pure evil god energy. Before the general can even finish his monologue, the clone punches him into oblivion. One shot, one kill. The clone looks at the battlefield, bored, while the original body is struggling to survive. Back in reality, our protagonist is in bad shape. His phone flashes with a warning. His believers are dying, and if they die, he loses his powers. To make matters worse, his body feels like every bone is broken. He desperately checks the shop. He can restore the believers using God's healing ring finger, but it costs over 5 million coins. Then, he has a genius idea. He asks the system, "Can I use the healing ring finger on myself?" The system says yes, But since he is a greedy capitalist god, it charges him a premium. He heals himself instantly, but it costs him 10 million coins. He is horrified. The price markup for self-care is insane. He then heals the ant tribe, spending another 5 million. The system notifies him that he has obtained massive amounts of white coins because the ants are grateful they aren't dying of poison anymore. It is the best kind of payback, turning a crisis into profit. Fully healed and wallet significantly lighter, our boy stands up. The apostle, who is barely holding it together, is shocked. He asks how our hero is standing. Our boy doesn't answer with words. He activates skill sharing, uses Mary's lightning as a shield to block the next attack, and then, you guessed it, flips him the flaming bird again. He grins, telling the pervert that this is how the tables turn. The apostle dodges this time, laughing like a maniac. He calls our boy an incredible disciple and decides he is too good to be a mere sacrifice. He declares he will use all 999 offerings, plus himself, to summon the big gun. The system announces, Descent of the God of Destruction. Our boy panics. He tries to use his crushing index finger to stop it, but the system ruthlessly informs him that the skill does not work on a god. A massive red eye appears in the ceiling, leaking black and red energy. The apostle spreads his arms, thanking his god for accepting him as the final offering. But the god of destruction apparently didn't read the contract. Instead of powering up the apostle, the red energy starts consuming him. The apostle coughs up blood, confused, screaming that this is different from what was promised. The god basically looks at his most loyal follower and says, "You look tasty." As the chaos unfolds, our boy is hit with a sudden vision. It is a flashback or maybe a hallucination. He sees a benevolent god who was once revered. This god lost the maiden he loved and was betrayed by the abyss. He went from a peaceful deity to a manifestation of revenge. Great. Just what we needed in the middle of a boss fight. A tragic backstory explaining why the giant red eye is so grumpy. Back in the mental realm, our boy is standing in front of a massive sword. He looks at it and realizes that vengeance means seeking power. He sees the giant eye of the god of destruction staring down at him. In the real world, the naked apostle is having a full-blown panic attack. He is trembling in fear, realizing that the entity he summoned is not here to save him but to devour him. He screams for mercy, asking how his lord could eat his own loyal servants. Our boy looks at the pathetic villain and asks if he finally understands. The god he serves is nothing but a ferocious demon. He stares up at the giant eye in the ceiling and asks what it is looking at. The apostle is shocked. Our hero is staring down a literal god without even flinching. Just like that, our boy raises his hand. He activates Authority Sword Mastery, a skill gifted by the Blade God. A massive lightning sword appears in his hand. It is not just a weapon. It is a monstrosity with a demonic face on the hilt. The narration tells us this authority brings out the full potential of the wielder. Our boy, looking absolutely majestic and terrifying, shouts one word: destruction. He swings the giant sword at the eye in the ceiling. He delivers the ultimate dismissal, shouting for the god to get the hell out of his world. We cut to the aftermath. The building is destroyed, and the military has arrived. The director of the Hunter Association, the glasses guy from earlier, is surveying the wreckage. They find a survivor. It is the naked apostle, but he is no longer a young man. He is withered into a decrepit old man, drained of his life force. He is shoved into an ambulance, still traumatized by the memory of our boy telling a god to get lost. Meanwhile, at a different location, the Lightning Queen has just cleared an S-class dungeon. The other hunters are amazed that she killed a dragon with just mind control. But our queen is in a foul mood. She screams at a red-haired hunter to give her a teleportation stone immediately. The hunter complains that the stone costs 100 million won and asks why she is in such a rush. She snaps back, telling him to mind his own business. She is angry because the dragon was too weak and she feels like she wasted her time. She teleports away, leaving the hunters to wonder if she is a hero or a tyrant. 2 days later, we are back in the apartment. Our boy is lying on his stomach while his adorable niece puts pain patches on his back. He is aching all over because wielding a giant anime sword apparently comes with major physical recoil. His niece complains that he sounds like an old man even though he is not even married yet. Then, she points to the corner of the room and asks who the scary-looking uncle is. We pan over to reveal the sword demon. The S-class assassin is currently on his hands and knees, bowing so low his head is hitting the floor. He answers instantly, asking if the sword god called him. Our boy and his niece are both shocked. Our hero asks why he is still here and if he fixed the bathroom door. The sword demon probably admits he fixed the door because he could not stand seeing the sword god's house in ruins. Our boy realizes his new follower is basically an unpaid handyman. He asks the fanatic about the mission to destroy the Shin Guild. The sword demon explains that he did not even have to do anything. The Hunter Association's special task force, led by the Lightning Queen herself, already dismantled them. The Korean black market has practically collapsed thanks to her rage. Our boy is impressed. He realizes that young Mina and his niece young Mary have similar names, but decides they are definitely not related based on their personalities alone. Suddenly, a system notification pops up. It calculates his achievement. Our boy managed to prevent 1 out of 100 clones of the god of destruction from entering Earth. His karma has shot up by 1 million points. Our boy is horrified. That giant eye monster was only 1% of the real deal. He wonders how big the actual dragon of the abyss must be if a mere clone was that terrifying. The system then drops a bombshell. Because of his divine feat, he is qualified for a promotion quest. He can choose to become a low-grade god or a low-grade evil god. The requirements are insane. To be a good god, he needs 1 billion believers or 10 S-rank believers. To be an evil god, he needs to kill 1 billion people or kill 10 S-rank hunters. Our boy reads the message and panics. The difficulty level is absurd. He realizes that to survive and get stronger, he might have to do the unthinkable. He stares at the screen, cursing the game for giving him a quest that is basically impossible. Our boy is staring at his phone screen like it just told him to calculate the square root of a potato. The promotion quest is officially here, and the requirements are absolutely diabolical. He has 2 options. Either gather 1 billion believers or kill 1 billion people. The system is basically asking him to become either the Pope or Thanos, with no in-between. He sits there, racking his brain, and decides that the only way to survive is to play both sides. He thinks that if he pits the stalkers against each other, he can somehow crack the code. He grins, convinced he is a tactical genius, asking himself if he is brilliant. Meanwhile, his niece is staring at him from across the room with a look of pure judgment, clearly thinking that her uncle has finally lost his last marble. Deciding to procrastinate on the genocide quest, our hero heads to the hospital to check on his favorite disciple. He finds room 505, but instead of arresting patient, he hears panting. He opens the door to find Mary, the Lightning Queen, doing push-ups on her fists while covered in bandages. Apparently, bad rest is for weaklings. She spots him and immediately jumps up like an excited puppy, asking if he came to visit. He looks at her, confused, asking why a hospitalized patient is doing calisthenics. She claims she got bored and insists she is fine. To prove it, she starts unraveling her bandages, and since she is not wearing much underneath, our boy is about to get a very R-rated show. Just as the bandages are coming off, the door slams open. A woman wearing sunglasses and a cape indoors, because clearly, she thinks she is Batman, storms in and slaps Mary right on the back. She screams at her, asking why she is stripping in front of a man. Our boy stands there, terrified, wondering where this aggressive fashion disaster came from. The woman turns her death glare on him. She grabs him by the collar, demanding to know his relationship with her sister. It turns out this is young Mina, Mary's older sister and a top-tier hunter. She accuses him of trying to play around with Mary and threatens to kill him, which is a lovely way to say hello. Mary jumps in to defend him, introducing him as Teacher Yu Ailshin. The sister is skeptical. She looks at our boy, who is dressed like he just rolled out of a dumpster, and asks what his rank is. She refuses to believe a G-rank nobody is a teacher at the academy. Our boy lies through his teeth, claiming to be a PE teacher, but she is not buying it. Mary tries to hype him up, saying he is stronger than her sister, which is the worst possible thing she could have said. The sister's ego shatters. She decides to teach everyone a lesson. She uses her psychic powers to twist Mary's knee, forcing her to kneel. It is a toxic sibling moment caught in 4K. Then, she turns to our protagonist. She unleashes her S-class mind control, commanding him to crawl on the floor like a beggar. She shouts, eyes glowing, expecting him to drop. Our boy just stands there, picking his ear. He looks at her, annoyed, and tells her that her voice is way too loud. The mind control bounces off him like a rubber ball. The sister is stunned. She tries again, screaming at him to move, but he just looks at her with pity, asking if it is really necessary to scream. She freezes. She realizes her strongest ability did absolutely nothing. Her attitude does a complete 180. She goes from a screaming banshee to a polite lady in seconds. She bows, apologizing for her ignorance and asking him to look after her sister. Our boy is whipped around by this mood swing, wondering if she has a split personality. Before she leaves, the system drops a bombshell. It identifies the sister as a descendant of the god of destruction and notes that she is suffering from the curse of the abyss. Our boy realizes that the massive red eye he just thoth is technically her ancestor. He decides to test the waters. He asks her if she is hurting anywhere, specifically mentioning the curse of the abyss. The sister freezes. Her polite mask cracks, and she shoots him a look that could kill, demanding to know how he knows that name. Our boy sweats, realizing he might have poked a sleeping dragon, and quickly lies about having a sensory skill. She smiles, terrifyingly, and leaves. Once the scary lady is gone, Mary drags our hero to the rooftop. She is thrilled, thinking her sister approved of him, completely missing the tension. Our boy decides it is time to unlock her true potential. He uses his Eye of the Blind God to look into her soul again. He sees the lightning line still wrapped in chains. He focuses his crushing index finger, trying to snap the seals. He strains, sweating, trying to thread the needle and break the lock. But the chains do not budge. The system pops up with a new message, and suddenly, it all clicks. The reason he cannot break the seal is not because he is weak. It is because the seal is active. He asks Mary where her sister went. Mary is confused, but our boy looks serious. He realizes that if he wants to unleash the beast, he needs to have a very sincere, and probably very dangerous, conversation with her guardian. At a prison facility near the ocean, our favorite naked enthusiast, the former apostle Johann, is currently locked up. He is kneeling on the floor of his cell, having a massive existential crisis. He monologues about how he spent his whole life believing in the miracle of God and seeking salvation, only to realize his entire belief system was a lie. He decides that the god of destruction is a fraud, but do not worry, he immediately finds a new obsession. He starts praying to our protagonist, calling Yu Shin the god of gods, and the only one capable of saving the world. He smashes his head on the floor, begging for forgiveness and asking to become a lowly follower of our boy. Suddenly, a system window pops up in the middle of the prison cell. The game has absolutely no standards, because it accepts his plea immediately. It announces that Johann has developed faith in Yu Shin. The naked man starts weeping tears of joy, trembling like a leaf, thanking our hero for accepting a sinner like him. But his celebration is cut short because he is not alone. A figure wearing a chrome mask has appeared in the cell with him. The apostle looks up, terrified, asking how someone got in here when this place is supposed to be a fortress. The masked figure speaks, noting that the Hunter Association must have abandoned Johann to quell public opinion. Johann tries to act tough, claiming he is still dangerous even without his god, but the intruder is not impressed. It is young Mina, the terrifying older sister. She tells him to cut the act because she is not there for politics. She is there because he tried to kill her little sister Mary. Johann feels his heart seizing up. Mina uses her psychic powers to crush his internal organs remotely. He screams in agony, and we cut away before things get too messy. Back in the apartment, our protagonist is coughing and rubbing his chest, completely unaware that his newest follower is currently being murdered. He leans back in his chair, casually wondering why he never got a chance to meet the famous celebrity young Mina. He figures she is just too busy being a star to hang out with commoners. He glances at his desk and picks up a letter left behind by the sword demon. The assassin wrote a poetic goodbye note, saying he has to leave due to unfortunate circumstances, but will always hold his master close to his heart while swinging his blade. Our boy reads 2 lines of this melodramatic nonsense and immediately crumbles it up. He throws it in the trash, praying that the guy never comes back. But his phone buzzes with a notification that changes everything. The system announces that the human Johann has been converted to the order of Yu Shin by the god of destruction. It seems the old god did a forcible handover of personnel. Our hero is thrilled. He checks his quest progress and sees that he now has 1 out of 10 followers with the potential to reach beyond this class. He thinks this is perfect because he just got a powerful minion without doing any work. But then a red message flashes on the screen. The text simply says, "The fanatic Johann has died." Our boy stares at the phone confused. He just got the guy, and now he is gone. But the system is not done. It ruthlessly informs him that a fanatic is the property of the god, and therefore, the sacrifice will be absorbed. Before he can ask what absorbed means, the phone screams a warning about excruciating pain. A red light blasts out of the screen and slams into our boy. He screams as his body is flooded with energy, glowing with a terrifying red aura. After the light fades, he is sitting on his bed, panting and looking at his glowing red hands. He is furious that the game did not give him a heads up, but he realizes he has absorbed Johann's abilities. He checks the cause of death. The system claims Johann died of a heart attack in prison, which is a very polite way of saying his heart was crushed by a psychic sister. But here is the kicker. Because Johann was a follower who died, he counts for both quests. The good god quest progressed because he gained a follower. The evil god quest progressed because he sacrificed a follower. Our boy is confused by the morality of this. He wonders if he should be happy that a bad guy died or sad that he lost a follower. He decides that thinking about ethics gives him a headache, so he chooses to ignore it. He figures that with all these new authorities and power, he can do anything. He could become a world-famous hunter, gain money, and bask in glory. But he looks at his computer and remembers his true passion. He wants to be a writer. Yes, despite having the power to rule the world, he just wants to finish his web novel. He sits down and starts typing furiously. He decides to write a story based on his recent experiences, thinking that since it is real, it has to be interesting. He uploads 10 chapters at once, confident that he is about to become the next big thing. A few hours later, he checks the comment section. It is a massacre. A user named Crazy Spicy Chicken comments, "Wow, isn't this writer stupid? I can write better than this with my foot. Fix your spelling." Another user named Ant Lover complains, "Poor ants. Don't kill them." And a third one simply says, I hate this story. Just go to sleep instead of writing this trash. Our boy reads the comments and feels his blood pressure rising. He screams at the screen, frustrated that saving the world is apparently easier than pleasing internet trolls. He decides that maybe he should find a different job after all. Suddenly, there is a knock at the door. He is not expecting anyone, so he assumes it is the sword demon coming back to recite more poetry. He marches to the door, furious, shouting that he is going to kill the idiot for returning. He swings the door open, ready to throw hands. But it is not the assassin. It is Mary the Lightning Queen. She looks at him with desperate eyes and asks, Teacher, can I ask for a really difficult favor? The Lightning Queen is on her knees, begging our protagonist for a favor. She is looking up at him with eyes so sparkly they could probably blind a pilot in midair. Our boy looks at her and realizes he never stood a chance. Between the puppy dog eyes and the sheer awkwardness of having a high-tier hunter kneeling in his living room, he immediately folds. He agrees to the favor before he even knows what it is, proving that he is weak to cute things and social pressure. A system notification immediately pops up to reward his lack of backbone. The faith of the Apostle Mary has risen by 10 points. Our hero realizes he just farmed affection points without lifting a finger, which is efficient, if not slightly manipulative. The favor turns out to be simple, or so he thinks. She needs a guardian to show up at school because she has been skipping class to fight monsters. Naturally, her parents are dead, and her sister is a terrifying psychic, so she needs a substitute adult. We cut to the next day at the Hunter Academy. Our boy has decided to dress up for the occasion, wearing the only suit he owns. He looks surprisingly sharp, or at least he thinks he does. Mary, however, has other ideas. She compliments him but immediately offers to buy him a designer sweatsuit because she is filthy rich and apparently thinks high fashion means looking like you are going for a jog. Our boy politely declines, trying to save his dignity and her wallet, but she insists on showing off his coolness to the world. He wonders if her definition of cool is broken, but he lets it slide. They arrive at the school, and Mary introduces him to her homeroom teacher. She claims he is her older cousin, a lie so thin you could read a newspaper through it. The teacher, a man whose muscles have muscles, looks at our scrawny protagonist and then at the athletic Mary. He points out that they look absolutely nothing alike. Mary panics and doubles down, claiming her cousin is actually very handsome, which just makes things more awkward. Our boy stands there, sweating, while his eye of the blind god scans the teacher. The system identifies the teacher as a 33-year-old male with useful muscles. Our boy appreciates the simple description, thinking that a man with that name probably lifts cars for fun. The teacher apologizes for his skepticism, admitting he expected the famous young Mina to show up. He assumes that since our boy shares blood with Mary, he must be talented too. Our hero quickly humbles himself, claiming to be an ordinary person, which is technically a lie since he is a walking god complex, but he is trying to keep a low profile. They head to the principal's office for the meeting. Inside, we find the principal, an older man who looks serious and dignified, but we get a quick flashback that reveals his true identity. This is Joy Gang's son, the legendary sweeper hunter who retired to become an educator. He is currently thinking about how he needs to guide Mary properly and help her grow. He seems like a wise, responsible mentor figure. But that image is about to be shattered into a million pieces. Our protagonist walks into the office and bows politely, introducing himself as the guardian. The principal welcomes him with a warm, professional smile. Then they make eye contact. The principal freezes. His eyes widen in sheer terror. He does not see a polite young guardian. He sees the terrifying entity that summoned a nightmare flower and ate a monster right in front of him. He remembers the trash-picking incident where our boy's sleep defense mechanism nearly traumatized him for life. Our boy, completely oblivious to the man's PTSD, smiles and points at him. He cheerfully says, "Hey, it is you. I am glad to meet a familiar face here." To the principal, this sounds like a death threat. He screams at our boy to stay back, terrified that the demon has come to finish the job. The muscle teacher looks on, confused. He wonders why his stoic principal is suddenly acting like he has seen a ghost. Our protagonist tries to de-escalate the situation by stepping closer, which is the exact opposite of what he should do. He mentions the 5,001 he gave the man back then, trying to be friendly. The principal hears none of it. He is convinced that this monster has infiltrated his school to destroy everything. He decides that fight or flight is the only option, and he chooses flight. In a move that defies all logic and dignity, the legendary ass-class hunter, the principal of the academy, turns around and flings himself out of the window. He shatters the glass and jumps from the building to escape a single college student in a cheap suit. The students outside watch in horror as their principal rains down from the sky. Back in the office, Mary, the muscle teacher, and our protagonist stand in stunned silence. Our boy looks at the broken window, genuinely confused, and wonders what on earth is wrong with that guy. He just wanted to say hello, but apparently his presence is now terrifying enough to make grown men defenestrate themselves. Down in the courtyard, The old man is currently sprinting back into the building like someone who just realized he left the stove on, completely abandoning any shred of dignity he had left. Back in the office, the muscle teacher tries to do some damage control. He awkwardly explains that the principal has some occupational trauma from saving people, which is a very polite way of saying the man has completely lost his marbles. A few moments later, the principal returns. He tries to act cool and composed, but his clothes are torn, his hair is a mess, and he looks like he just wrestled a lawnmower. They decide to sit down for tea because apparently, nothing fixes a mental breakdown like warm leaf water and uncomfortable silence. Mary, our lightning queen, is happily munching on some biscuits, oblivious to the tension. She insists that our protagonists try one because they are delicious. Our boy takes a biscuit, but as he chews, he feels a terrifying pressure. He looks up to find the principal staring at him with a death glare so intense it could peel paint off the walls. There is a literal blue aura of rage radiating from the old man. Our hero checks the system to see what earth-shattering reason lies behind this hostility. The system reveals the truth. Mary has given the master a tribute consisting of Choi Gang-sun's favorite snack. Yes, you heard that right. The legendary hunter is ready to murder our boy because he ate his cookie. Our author cannot believe the pettiness. He tries to de-escalate, but the principal is too busy mentally guarding his snack stash. The muscle teacher decides to intervene and get back to business. He brings up Mary's attendance record, which is basically non-existent, and suggests our hero keeps a closer eye on her. Our boy agrees, playing the role of the responsible guardian perfectly. He gets up to leave, eager to escape this awkward tea party and the cookie-hoarding maniac. But the principal shouts for him to stop. The old man is desperate. He screams that it is destiny and begs our boy to take a capability test, raving about the academy's top-tier equipment like a used car salesman. Our hero is confused and wonders why he should bother. Seeing his hesitation, the principal makes a desperate offer. If our boy takes the test, the school will forgive all of Mary's absences and stop forcing her into training. Our protagonist sees an easy win. He strikes the deal, and despite the muscle teacher saying it is inappropriate, they head to the testing room. Inside, we meet a scientist with glasses who looks like she hates her job and everyone in it. This is Manager Choi, the medical team leader and, as it turns out, the principal's daughter. She complains that using the equipment for a civilian is a waste of electricity, proving that the apple fell far from the tree, rolled down a hill, and landed in a bucket of ice water. She introduces the machine as the Orb of the Selector, a tool used to measure potential. Our protagonist looks at the fancy orb and his ego immediately inflates. He thinks that since he is technically a god in the game, the machine will probably explode from his sheer awesomeness. He puts his hand on the orb, expecting an S rank or maybe a new god rank to appear. The machine flashes, the room holds its breath, and the results come in. It is a G rank. The silence is deafening. The scientist looks at the results and ruthlessly declares it the worst scorer she has ever seen. She says there is nothing to look at because he is statistically pathetic. Our boy is stunned. The principal is in denial, shouting that the machine must be broken. But his daughter confirms the machine has a margin of error of less than 1%. Our hero stands there, embarrassed that his godly power registered as absolute trash. He tries to leave, but the principal is spiraling. The old man thinks back to the time our boy summoned a nightmare flower and realizes something. Back then, the boy was asleep. The principal comes to a terrifyingly logical conclusion. This monster is the type that needs to be unconscious to use his powers. So, naturally, he decides the best course of action is to knock our protagonist unconscious himself. He shouts for them to stop and challenges our boy to a sparring match. Our hero is baffled and asks why he should fight an old man. But then he remembers that beating people up usually turns them into fanatics. He thinks that if he teaches this old man a lesson, he might gain the S-class follower he needs for his promotion quest. He agrees to the fight, and the principal looks thrilled, ready to throw hands. But suddenly, the muscle teacher steps in between them. He declares that it is inappropriate for the principal to fight a civilian and volunteers to do the beating himself. So now, our drink writer is about to throw down with a man whose neck is thicker than his future. This is surely going to end well. The muscle teacher steps up with the confidence of a man who has never checked his own stat sheet. He looks ready to teach our boy a lesson in physical education, but the class is dismissed before it even begins. With a single casual flick of his finger, our protagonist sends the gym rat flying across the room like a discarded tissue. The teacher lands hard, sporting a fresh nosebleed and a look of absolute existential dread, wondering how a beering hunter just got folded by a writer. Our hero stands there scratching his head, genuinely confused by the lack of durability in his opponent. He assumes the teacher is just weak, completely oblivious to the fact that he is currently operating with the strength of a literal god. On the sidelines, Mary is having the time of her life, clapping and cheering for her appa like she is at a concert. The principal nods sagely, acting like he predicted this outcome, while his daughter, the scientist, is spiraling. She stares at her data tablet, trying to calculate how a G-rank nobody just violated the laws of physics and humiliated her staff. She insists he registers as an ordinary person, proving that her expensive machines are about as useful as a screen door on a submarine. With the appetizer out of the way, the main course steps up. The principal decides it is time to get his hands dirty. Our boy looks at the old man, and the system kindly provides a scan. It introduces him as Choi Gang-sun, a human male who has been used for 58 years. The system describes him like a high-mileage used car, noting that his muscles are capable of mass destruction. Our hero looks at this beefcake of a grandfather and sees a golden opportunity. He realizes that beating the principal might be the key to securing that elusive S-class believer for his promotion quest. It is scheming time. The principal stretches, his joints popping like fireworks, declaring that his blood is finally pumping. Our boy suggests a wager to spice things up. He proposes that the loser has to grant the winner a request. The principal agrees, but immediately adds a condition that it cannot be anything illegal since he is a public servant. It is adorable that he cares about the law now, considering he just tried to assault a civilian 5 minutes ago. Our hero grins. He does not need anything illegal. He just needs the old man to say the magic words "I trust you," so he can farm him for faith points. The fight begins, and it immediately turns into opposing competition. The principal powers up, unleashing a massive aura. Our boy decides to match the energy, striking a bodybuilder pose that confuses everyone in the room. The students whispering on the sidelines are wondering if they stumbled into a duel or a bodybuilding audition. Mid-flex, the principal decides to drop some heavy exposition. He mentions a prophecy from the S-rank hunter miracle. Apparently, she predicted that a brutal and honorable being would appear at the academy. Our boy pauses. Brutal? Check. Honorable? Well, he is trying. He realizes the prophecy is literally describing his dual status as an evil god and a good god. The principal explains that his orders are to affiliate this being with the school. Our boy is less interested in destiny and more worried about his writing deadline. He starts complaining that working at the academy would be too troublesome because he has a novel to finish. But the principal is done talking. While our boy is mid-sentence, the old man launches a sucker punch straight at his face. Our hero reacts instantly, parrying the blow with ease. The principal grins, declaring that the test continues. It seems this old man has no respect for the sanctity of a conversation, but he definitely has a mean right hook. The principal and our boy are trading blows that create shockwaves, and the students watching are losing their minds. One student points out that the principal's fist has swelled up like a giant balloon, which sounds medically concerning, but apparently it is just his full power. The principal is manic, screaming that our boy is great but needs to be humbled. He swears that he will force our hero to enroll in the academy, even if he has to snap a few bones to do it. Our protagonist is actually trembling a little. He realizes that despite his god-tier status, this old man is genuinely S-class for a reason, but his ego is still intact. He tells himself he has not even used his full power yet, which is bold for a guy currently stuck in a shonen anime fight he didn't ask for. He politely declines the enrollment offer, mostly because he values his limbs and his free time. Just as they charge at each other for a climatic clash, the universe decides to prank our hero. A system window pops up right in his face. It is a notification from Il-ho, the ant warrior. He has successfully cleared the 11th floor of the Tower of Trials and, being a loyal devotee, has sent a tribute. In the middle of a high-speed punch, a bouquet of flowers suddenly materializes in our boy's hand. He stares at it, completely bewildered. He wonders if this is a weapon, a peace offering, or just bad timing. With no time to put it down, he throws the punch anyway, flowers and all. This turns out to be the most effective attack in history. The moment the principal sees the delicate petals flying toward his face, his brain short-circuits. He instantly flashes back to the trauma of being swallowed whole by the giant nightmare plant. The badass aura vanishes instantly. The legendary hunter, the pillar of the academy, lets out a scream that can only be described as undignified. He shouts for his mommy and sprints away from the fight faster than a cat who heard a cucumber drop. Our boy is left standing in the dust, fist extended, holding a crushed bouquet. He is utterly confused. He wonders if the old man has a severe pollen allergy or if he just remembered he left the stove on. He realizes he technically won the duel, but because the principal ran away in terror instead of submitting, the system does not register him as a new believer. Our hero sighs, looking at the empty space where his S-rank follower was supposed to be. He defeated the man with a flower delivery, but he still failed the quest. Needing a distraction from this embarrassing victory, he opens his management app to check on his other problem children. The ant kingdom is booming. The system informs him that over 400,000 non-believers are clamoring to get into the city. His believer count has hit 10 million, and the city walls are automatically expanding to hold the massive population. He is making serious progress on his promotion quest, even if the 1 billion believers goal still feels miles away. He zooms in to see what his loyal subjects are up to, and he immediately regrets it. The ants are gathered in a massive circle, performing a solemn religious ritual. They are chanting a new holy spell they learned from their god. They are shouting the word fuck in perfect unison. Our boy freezes. He realizes that earlier, when he was frustrated, he must have cursed out loud. The ants, thinking every word out of his mouth is divine scripture, have adopted the F word as their new prayer. He watches in horror as his entire civilization marches around, chanting profanities with absolute reverence. They think they are blessing the land, but they sound like a lobby of angry gamers. Our hero facepalms, realizing that this is exactly why you do not curse in front of toddlers. He has accidentally turned his holy kingdom into a remarkably rude society. But he does not have time to correct their vocabulary. A new, much darker notification slides into view. It is an alert about the Shadow Sword, his assassin follower, Phantom. The message is blunt and terrifying. It asks if he wants to save his believer from committing suicide. The comedy hour is officially over. Our boy stares at the screen, the sounds of the chanting ants fading into the background as he realizes his most unstable follower is about to do something drastic. He has to act now, or he is going to lose an apostle before he even gets a chance to use him. The scene shifts instantly to the Sword Demon's location, where our boy teleports in to find his newest follower in a very compromising position. The fanatic is holding a blade to his own stomach, looking ready to commit seppuku for some dramatic, unexplained reason. Our hero immediately intervenes, slapping the knife away and asking what on earth possessed him to try and delete himself from existence. The Sword Demon looks confused, claiming he wasn't trying to die, but before they can unpack that baggage, a new challenger approaches. A figure in a crow mask appears from the shadows. Our boy is startled because his god-tier senses didn't pick up a single thing. The Sword Demon immediately goes into protective mode, warning his god that the intruder is using voice manipulation and is definitely not an ordinary pervert. It is hilarious that pervert is their baseline for danger now. The intruder takes off the mask, revealing the terrifyingly beautiful face of young Mina, the Lightning Queen's sister. The Sword Demon is momentarily stunned by her goddess-like beauty, proving that men will simp even while being hunted down. But Mina is not here for compliments. She is radiating pure rage. She demands to know why the man who tried to kill her little sister is still breathing. Our boy decides to try diplomacy. He looks at the psychotic assassin standing next to him and looks back at the angry psychic. He asks her to forgive the guy, claiming that the Sword Demon is actually a nice guy once you get to know him. It is a bold lie considering the man is a professional murderer, but our hero is committed to the bit. Mina is understandably not buying it. She asks if he is delusional or just stupid. She declares that if he won't step aside, he is next on the kill list. She reveals that the naked apostle Johann mentioned our boy's name before he died, which has convinced her that our protagonist is the mastermind behind everything. She accuses him of approaching Mary with ulterior motives and currying favor just to use her. She demands to know what his evil plan is. Our hero realizes she is rewriting the narrative in her head, so he decides to fight fire with fire. He uses his Eye of the Blind God to scan her. The system reveals a shocking truth. Mina isn't just suppressing Mary's power, she is using a blood seal. She is risking her own life and vitality to keep the monster inside her sister contained. But our boy decides to play dumb to provoke her. He asks why she stole her sister's ability. He accuses her of being jealous that Mary is a better hunter than her, suggesting she sealed the power just to stay on top. It is a low blow, and it works perfectly. Mina snaps. She screams that he doesn't know anything and unleashes her psychic power. The Sword Demon tries to jump in and save his god, shouting a battle cry. But Mina doesn't even look at him. She flicks her finger, literally just a flick, and the assassin is blasted backward like a bug hitting a windshield. He hits the wall and crumples, completely overwhelmed. Our boy watches his meat shield get swat aside and realizes he might have underestimated the situation. The Sword Demon, trembling on the floor, gasps out a warning. He reveals that the rumors are wrong. Young Mina is not an S-class hunter. She is a monster at the SS-class level. Our jeering author realizes the power gap is massive. Mina turns her glowing eyes back to him. She declares that she will stop his suffering now. She reaches out with her mind, bypassing his physical defenses entirely, and grabs hold of his heart. Our boy freezes as he feels the invisible hand of an SS-class psychic squeezing the life out of his chest. The tension is high, the stakes are lethal, and our boy is giggling? That's right. Young Mina, the terrifying SS-class psychic, is currently using her full power to crush our hero's heart telekinetically. But instead of gasping for his last breath, our protagonist looks at her with tears in his eyes and begs her to stop, because it tickles. He's literally trying not to laugh while she tries to murder him. Mina is absolutely shook. She stares at her hand, then at him, wondering if her powers are broken. She gave that attack everything she had, yet this man is reacting like she just poked him in the ribs during a tickle fight. Her ego takes a massive hit, but she recovers quickly, deciding that if subtle internal organ crushing won't work, she needs to go big. She declares that he is better than she expected, which is villain code for, I'm about to stop holding back. The Sword Demon, currently on the floor recovering from being flicked across the room, screams a warning. He reveals that Mina isn't just an S-class hunter, she is an unregistered SS-class monster. Our boy does the math and realizes she is leagues above the homeless principal he fought earlier. Mina doesn't give them time to process the power scaling. She unleashes a massive wave of energy, creating a terrifying illusion of ice and freezing spears. The sword demon and our hero find themselves frozen in place, ice creeping up their legs. The sword demon panics, shouting that they are done for. But our boy looks down at the ice on his ankles and simply steps out of it. He kicks the frozen shackles away like they are made of cheap sugar glass. He turns to the sword demon and calmly explains that this is all just a hallucination. It's fake. Mina laughs, a cold, haughty sound. She admits it is an illusion but drops a philosophical bomb. A perfect illusion is no different from reality. If your brain thinks you are frozen and dying, your body will politely oblige and die. She demands to know his true identity, convinced he is some ancient evil plotting world domination. Our boy sighs. He thinks about telling her the truth, that he is a third-rate web novel writer who just wants to pay his rent, but he knows she won't believe him. So he decides to tell her his current goal instead. He looks her dead in the eye and says he is just focusing on making Mary an S-class hunter. Mina hears this and interprets it in the worst way possible. She assumes he means he is grooming Mary to be a weapon for his evil empire. She screams that since he wants to die so badly, she will grant his wish. She summons a massive, building-sized rock in the illusion world and hurls it down at him like a meteor. She looks down from the sky, calling them bugs and waiting for the splat. But suddenly, a blinding yellow light erupts from the ground. Our hero activates his skill-sharing authority. And whose power does he borrow to fight the big bad sister? That is right. He channels Mary's lightning. He explodes with golden energy, shattering the illusion and proving that while she might be an SS-class psychic, he's the guy who writes the plot. The bug just decided to bite back. The dust settles and young Mina is staring at our boy like he just grew a second head. She just dropped a building on him, and not only is he alive, but he is standing there with his clothes half ripped off looking like the cover of a romance novel. She cannot comprehend how a J-rank writer just tanked an SS-class attack with his bare skin. Meanwhile, the sword demon is on the floor having a religious experience. He is gazing up at our protagonist with starry eyes, praising the sword god for his infinite power. Our hero, who is technically just a guy who borrowed a lightning battery from a teenager, finds this admiration annoying. He walks over and punches his loyal follower right in the face, telling him to stop talking nonsense. The sword demon apologizes for breathing too loudly, proving that his toxicity levels are critical. Our boy turns his attention back to the terrifying psychic sister. He tries to talk, probably to explain that he is not a villain, but Mina is done listening. She decides that physical attacks are not working, so she goes for the mental trauma. She waves her hand, and the world dissolves. Our hero finds himself floating in a peculiar white void. The narration tries to make it sound intimidating, describing a heavy presence that makes you want to close your eyes. But our boy looks around and thinks, actually, this is kind of nice. He hears the sound of summer insects and feels a sense of peace. He is treating this mental prison like a sudden vacation. Mina appears in the void, radiating rage. She is furious that he is critiquing the feng shui of her torture chamber instead of screaming in terror. She points a finger at him and unleashes the next stage of hell. A massive whirlpool of dark water and wind swirls around him. Our boy tries to use his trusty crushing forefinger, but in this mental world, his physical cheats do not work. He starts sinking into the dark water. Mina floats above him, looking down with a cruel smile. She kindly informs him that he won't die, but if he gets sucked in, his brain will turn to mush and he will become a vegetable forever. Our hero shouts back that being brain dead is basically the same thing as dying, but logic has no place here. Mina steps down, literally planting her foot on top of his head to push him under. She demands to know his true identity and his goal. Our boy looks up, struggling against the pressure. But then he notices something. Because she is wearing a dress and standing directly on top of his head, he has a very clear view of the scenery. Instead of begging for mercy or revealing his evil plan, he decides to be honest. He looks her dead in the eye and tells her that he can see her panties. And for the record, they are white. Mina freezes. The sheer audacity of this man is off the charts. He is seconds away from a lobotomy, and he is doing a fashion check on her underwear. This is why you do not wear a skirt to a deathmatch, ladies. Her embarrassment instantly turns into nuclear rage. She screams at him to die and stomps him all the way down into the abyss. Our boy sinks into the deep, dark water. But instead of panicking, he feels the familiar embrace of his favorite hobby, napping. He thinks to himself that he is sleepy, and since he cannot fight the water, he might as well get some shut-eye. He closes his eyes and drifts off. But he forgot one tiny detail. When he sleeps, he stops being a J-rank writer and starts being an Aldrich horror. The system chimes in. The condition for the rose that blooms at night has been met. Back on the surface, Mina is watching the bubbles rise, thinking she has won. But suddenly, a massive, terrifying plant erupts from the water. The nightmare flower has bloomed, and it looks like Mina is about to find out that drowning this man was the worst mistake of her life. While young Mina is having a mental breakdown, our protagonist is literally snoozing in the middle of her psychic kill zone. He is drifting off, feeling cozy, probably dreaming about his next paycheck, completely unaware that his nap time has triggered a catastrophe. Back in the conscious world, Mina is staring at the water in horror. She thought she had drowned him, but instead of a corpse, a massive, terrifying plant erupts from the depths. The rose that blooms at night has activated, and it is huge. Mina is baffled. This is her mental world, her rules. Yet this weed is breaking through her defenses like they are made of wet tissue paper. She tries to dodge the massive vines, but she realizes with sinking dread that she is hopelessly outmatched. For the first time in 15 years, the SS-class hunter feels helpless. It reminds her of the day her life fell apart. She flashes back to the Never Dragon incident, the trauma that defined her existence. She screams that she cannot die here, not before she gets her revenge on the monster that ruined her family. But while she is fighting for her life against a botanical nightmare, our boy's consciousness drifts into her memories. He uses his Eye of the Blind God to watch her tragic backstory in 4K resolution. He sees the Nether Dragon, a monster so gluttonous it ate their parents and branded the two sisters as future sacrifices. We finally get the plot twist. Mina was not suppressing Mary's powers because she was jealous or power-hungry. The system reveals that the dragon's brand grants immense power, but eats away at their lifespan. Mina realized that if Mary kept getting stronger, she would die young. So, Mina did the ultimate big sister move. She used a forbidden seal to steal Mary's potential, effectively taking the curse onto herself. She decided to shorten her own life to ensure her little sister could live a long, normal one. She played the villain for 15 years just to protect the person she loved most. Our boy watches this sacrifice play out, seeing Mina beg forgiveness while sealing Mary's powers, and he completely breaks character. He starts sobbing. And I do not mean a single manly tear. I mean he is wailing, making the ugliest crying face imaginable, trembling with emotion over the sheer tragedy of it all. The system notifies him that Mina's mental space is collapsing because the giant flower has officially traumatized her into submission. The illusion shatters, and they are back in the real world. Our hero wakes up, still sniffling and wiping his eyes. The sword demon, who has been watching his master Nat this whole time, asks if he is okay. He ignores the question, looking around for Mina. The sword demon points to the unconscious woman on the floor and, being the helpful psychopath that he is, asks if they should sell her to the Hunter Association for a profit. Our boy ignores the suggestion of human trafficking and rushes over to her. He scoops her up, shaking her gently to wake her up. He is genuinely worried, relieved that she is not dead. Mina's eyes flutter open. She looks up at our boy, dazed, confused, and stripped of all her haughty defenses. Her vision is blurry, and her brain is scrambled. She looks at the man who just beat her up and whispers the word mama. Our boy freezes. The sword demon freezes. The terrifying SS-class psychic just called a broke web novel writer mommy. It seems the trauma bond is officially established. The scary big sister is currently out cold, sucking her thumb like she's auditioning for a pacifier commercial. Our boy's healing finger is proving to be a glorified glow stick since it's doing absolutely nothing to wake her up. Frustrated, he starts shouting at his divine stalkers through the phone, asking for a cure, but the gods are being predictably unhelpful. One deity suggests using her as a human sacrifice, which earns them a one-way ticket to our boy's get lost list. Another god mentions that if he just levels up to a high-tier deity, he could fix her, but since our boy is currently stuck in the low-tier bargain bin of divinity, he tosses that idea in the trash too. He starts connecting the dots about that creepy rose ability he received from the soundless nightmare, and realizes it must have triggered while he was unconscious. For a fleeting moment, he's convinced he's a tactical genius, but the soundless nightmare quickly humbles him with a cryptic message. Apparently, if she's already been eaten by the flower, there is only one way to save her. When our boy hears the solution is that he has to sleep with her, his face becomes a flustered, sweaty mess of panic. The system vigorously nods its head in agreement, confirming his worst, most awkward fears. Back in the real world, our boy is playing the role of a very stressed-out caretaker. He tries to tuck the scary big sister under the sheets, but she wakes up and asks where he's going with the wide-eyed innocence of a lost puppy. He explains he's just going to cook some rice, all while breathing a sigh of relief that the sleeping together part was just a spiritual Wi-Fi connection. It turns out he just had to share the same dream space, so her swallowed memories could flow back to her like water. He runs a quick diagnostic test to see if her brain is functioning, and while she remembers her name and her love for the Thunder Saint, she's absolutely terrified of flowers. Her mental age has effectively regressed to that of a toddler, leaving our boy sleep-deprived and feeling like a professional kidnapper. The news is currently losing its collective mind over the fact that an SS rank hunter has vanished into thin air. Our boy realizes that if he's caught with a brain-scrambled top-tier hunter, he's going to be cancelled by the entire nation, so he decides to keep a low profile deep in the mountains. He heads outside to check on the fanatic, who is busy training with the sword manual our boy provided. Even though our boy is 99% sure the book was an expensive scam that basically tells the reader to just punch things, he lies through his teeth and tells the fanatic it's a revolutionary masterpiece. Since recruiting new followers is a headache, our boy checks his phone and sees that a few of his other subordinates have already hit S rank, meaning the fanatic has a chance to level up too. He decides to accelerate the process by dumping a mountain of expensive growth potions on the poor guy. The fanatic accepts the liquid upgrades with the intense, trembling devotion of someone who's watched way too many historical K-dramas. Our boy tells him to keep grinding while he goes to figure out breakfast, but his peaceful morning is interrupted by a breaking news report. A fire-wielding hunter named Beck is on screen promising to twist the neck off whoever touched the scary big sister. Seconds later, a massive explosion rocks the mountain, and the angry fire guy appears in the flesh. The fanatic tries to defend his master's honor, probably introducing our boy as a mighty sword saint, but the fire guy is not buying the hype. Things go from bad to worse when the fanatic announces that the scary big sister has become unable to live without our boy. This sends the fire guy into a murderous rage as he jumps to some very spicy and very wrong conclusions. Before our boy can tell his follower to shut up, the fanatic charges in with a burst of purple mana and gets fried like a piece of spicy chicken in a single second. The fire guy teleports instantly, grabbing our boy by the throat and demanding to know exactly what he's done with his girl. The fire simp is currently holding our boy by the throat, looking like he's about to cook a 5-star meal out of his face. He summons the essence of his sword, a terrifying red dragon that looks like it belongs on a heavy metal album cover, but our boy isn't exactly shaking in his boots. Since his face is currently dangerously close to being grilled, our boy decides to be a literal divine buskill. He points a single finger at the legendary beast and activates his crashing skill, pinning the dragon to the floor like a common housefly under a boot. The fire simp is suddenly frozen in place, unable to move a muscle while his dragon body trembles in absolute terror. Our boy politely suggests that the guy let go of his neck, mostly because he's not a fan of the trash heat radiating off his opponent. The fanatic is watching this from the sidelines, probably having a spiritual experience while his own scorched skin is still smoking from the previous beatdown. He is fully convinced his master is a god-tier genius who just dismantled an S-rank hunter with the same amount of effort it takes to swat a mosquito. The fire simp tries to activate his high-level skills to get a second wind, but the scary big sister decides she's finally had enough of the noise. She wakes up from her nap in a foul mood, shouting at everyone to shut up because they're ruining her beauty sleep. The fire simp is overcome with joy to see she's okay, but his happiness lasts about 3 seconds. She sees him holding our boy by the neck and immediately labels him a bad person. Before he can even explain himself, she uses her psychic power to launch him into the dirt, so hard he starts coughing up blood. While the fire simp is having a mental breakdown over being bullied by the woman he came to save, the scary big sister goes in for a full-on hug. She's clinging to our boy, promising to protect him from the big, scary man, leaving our boy trapped in an incredibly awkward S-rank cuddle. He actually starts to feel a wave of pity for the fire simp. If the rumors about them dating were true, our boy realizes that watching your girlfriend regress to a toddler and call another man mommy is a level of emotional damage that even he wouldn't wish on an enemy. Our boy decides to take advantage of this situation and uses his healing ring finger to patch up the fire simp's injuries. It costs him 100 coins, which is basically a daylight robbery for an S-class heal, but the system notes that this guy has transcendent potential. Our boy's eyes practically turn into dollar signs as he realizes he might be able to recruit another high-ranking follower if he plays his cards right. The fire simp is absolutely stunned, looking at our boy with the kind of puppy dog eyes that suggest he'd probably donate a kidney if asked. Just as our boy is about to start his recruitment pitch and explain the whole misunderstanding, the sound of heavy machinery ruins the vibe. A fleet of helicopters begins swarming the area. Our boy assumes the fire simp brought his own fan club, but the guy swears he came alone. Whether it's the Hunter Association or a group of bounty hunters looking to collect on our boy's head, one thing is certain. His peaceful morning deep in the mountains has officially become a crowded, high-altitude nightmare. The sky is currently crawling with helicopters, and our boy is sweating through his tracksuit because he's convinced the entire world has him pegged as a high-profile kidnapper. The principal and his scientist daughter jump out of the birds like they're in an action movie, but the scary big sister immediately turns the tension into a family reunion. By the time the sun starts to set, our boy has finished spinning a very dramatic, mostly true tale about how the scary big sister sacrificed her mental stability to protect the Thundersunt. The result is a total emotional meltdown. The sisters are currently hugging and sobbing so hard their eyeballs are practically sweating with relief. Even the professional investigation team is looking like they've just finished watching the world's saddest K-drama finale. In the middle of this tear fest, the principal's daughter hands our boy a B-class awakening license. Despite his official Jurang status, his Nightmare Flower summon is apparently so terrifyingly impressive that the association is willing to skip several tax brackets to keep him happy. The principal then drops a job offer to become an academy professor. Our boy's first instinct is to decline so he can focus on his failing web novel and his digital ant cult, but the second he sees the massive mountain of zeros on the salary offer, he suddenly discovers that being a professor has been his lifelong dream since approximately 5 seconds ago. The scene shifts to the academy, where our boy and his loyal fanatic assistant stroll into the classroom like a pair of main characters. The students are already vibrating with gossip, recognizing our boy as the legendary one-punch master who sent a pro luncher flying. Our boy introduces himself as the substitute teacher, but the fanatic immediately cranks the intensity to 11, screaming at the children to maintain absolute silence in the presence of the great sword god. For the next 4 days, our boy's educational philosophy consists entirely of telling the students to self-study while he uses his desk as a pillow. The fanatic stands guard like a manic gargoyle, threatening to unleash his dragon fang sword on anyone who dares to interrupt his master's holy slumber. The students are understandably having a group chat crisis, wondering if they're in a prestigious training facility or a very expensive daycare for a sleeping tracksuit enthusiast. Our boy eventually migrates to the cafeteria, where he treats the free food like a 5-star buffet. He's currently in a state of pure joy, basking in the glory of being a professional salary thief. However, the pink-haired classmate is watching him from across the room, and she looks like she's about to have a fashion-induced stroke. She is convinced the scary big sister has been blinded by some kind of low-budget magic because there's no way a lazy man in a sweatsuit should have this much race. After school, the pink-haired girl tries to stage an intervention for the Thunder Simp, demanding to know why she's obsessed with a man who does literally nothing. The Thunder Simp just gives her a pitying look, insisting that she's the only one who truly understands his hidden charms. This only fuels the pink-haired girl's hero complex, and she decides she has to save her friend from this truck-suit-wearing menace, even if she has to beat some sense into her. The next day at the training octagon, our boy finally decides to do some work, or at least a very convincing imitation of it. He announces a dueling session, fully intending to let the fanatic handle the students while he finds a nice, shady spot for a nap. But the pink-haired girl has reached her breaking point. She calls him out in front of the whole class, accusing him of being a coward who's hiding behind his assistant. The fanatic is ready to commit a felony over the disrespect, but our boy realizes that if he's too lazy, they might stop paying for his lunch. To protect his precious free meals, he reluctantly agrees to the duel, and the salary thief teacher is finally stepping into the ring. In the middle of the octagon, the pink-haired student is currently shooting daggers from her eyes, convinced she's about to destroy the man she considers a professional tax dollar embezzler. Our boy can hear her muttering insults about his salary from across the room, and while he'd love to defend his honor, his brain is currently running on low battery mode. He's been sleeping through every class for a very legitimate reason. His apartment has been turned into a high-end hostel for S-class alcoholics. For the past week, the scary big sister and the Thunder Simp have claimed his bed as their own, while the principal and the Fire Simp have been treating his living room floor like a fraternity basement, surrounded by a sea of empty bottles. He's watched Korea's top-tier defenders turn into absolute idiots, drinking every single day because the weather was either too rainy or too nice to stay sober. The scary big sister has been the ultimate enabler, finding their drunken chaos hilarious, while our boy has been forced into the role of a full-time chef and babysitter. He barely had time to blink before the scary big sister was demanding food again, forcing him to whip up batches of kimchi fried rice while his magical soul sword vibrated in a drawer like it was having a localized earthquake. His life has officially become a sitcom where he's the only one with a job and a functional sense of responsibility. The domestic chaos was briefly interrupted when a news report flashed across the Fire Simp's phone, announcing that an S-class Russian hunter had been found dead in a hotel. The scene of the crime was decorated with an ominous message about being a sacrifice to the gods, which immediately flipped the principal and the Fire Simp into serious mode. 1 second our boy was plating the fried rice, and the next, the two S-ranks had teleported out of the building, leaving him standing there with a spatula and a very hungry scary big sister. He eventually offloaded her onto the Thunder Simp so he could drag his exhausted body to school, hoping for a quiet day of being a salary thief, but the universe had other plans. Back in the octagon, the zombie girl is ready to make him pay for his laziness. She summons her ultimate move, calling forth a massive, 7-rank beast known as Giant Zombie Hades. This skeletal nightmare is over 1,000 years old and used to be a high-ranking knight for the legendary mountain-eating god, but now it's just a mountain of bones and skin. The zombie girl orders it to attack, but the monster stops dead in its tracks. Instead of tearing our boy apart, it senses the divine aura of his nightmare flower ability and immediately drops to its knees, bowing so hard its skull probably rattled. The entire class is currently in a state of collective shock, watching the most terrifying summon in the school treat their lazy substitute teacher like a supreme deity. The fanatic and the Thunder Simp are practically having a religious experience on the sidelines, while the zombie girl is frantically punching her monster's knee, demanding it get up and do its job. The zombie ignores her completely, telepathically begging our boy to take command, because it recognizes the power of its former master flowing through him. Our boy feels a surge of genuine pity for the old bag of bones and places a hand on its head, accidentally triggering a psychic download of the zombie's tragic backstory. He sees the knight's 1,000-year journey of regret and failure, and before he knows it, he's tearing up over a zombie's feelings. The system pops up to ask if he wants to adopt this ancient undead knight as his third follower, and our boy hits the yes button without a second thought. He decides to go all in and spends his divine power to evolve his new skeletal subordinate. A blinding, holy light suddenly explodes from the zombie, hitting the students with the force of 1,000 flashbangs. The fanatic and the thunder simp are screaming about witness miracles, while our boy stands in the center of the light show, wondering if he's just accidentally created an even bigger headache for himself. The skeletal bag of bones is currently undergoing a massive, high-budget glow-up, evolving into the dark holy paladin Hades. He's traded his dusty ribs for a suit of scary black armor, and looks like he's ready to audition for the role of a demonic bodyguard. The fanatic and the thunder simp are watching from the sidelines with stars in their eyes, convinced they've just witnessed a localized miracle, while the system confirms that our boy is officially one step closer to his high-tier god promotion, since he now has 4 followers with the potential to transcend reality. The pink-haired student is absolutely losing her mind because the monster can actually speak now, but before our boy can enjoy her confusion, his brain decides to pull the plug. Evolving a 1,000-year-old knight is a massive drain on the divine battery, and our boy's vision starts doing backflips. He collapses on the spot, but luckily Hades is there to catch him like he's performing a professional bridal carry. The fanatic and the thunder simp rush the ring, with the fanatic bowing so hard he's practically trying to merge with the floorboards, swearing to guard his master's holy slumber until the end of time. While his body is currently a paperweight on the octagon floor, our boy's consciousness is enjoying the ultimate divine spa day. He's in a golden dreamscape with the goddess of abundance, who is giving him a celestial lap pillow and patting his head like he's a very good, very exhausted boy. The system explains that her tears are helping him recover his drained power, and our boy is convinced he's finally made it to heaven. He's completely oblivious to the fact that while he's getting a head rub, a literal disaster is currently strolling through the academy's front gates. Back in the real world, the scary big sister is busy being a professional toddler with a lollipop. She's teasing the scientist's daughter, refusing to share her candy while the scientist just tries to survive the headache of babysitting an SS-ranked child who thinks a university is a playground. But the playful mood vanishes instantly when the scary big sister starts vibrating with pure terror. She drops her candy and clings to the scientist like her life depends on it, sobbing that the monsters are coming to turn her into a sacrifice. She isn't just being dramatic. Outside the building, a creepy man in a robe is currently doing some light property damage while searching for the seeds of the nether dragon. When the academy guards try to do their jobs and ask for identification, the robe man treats their lives like disposable napkins, deleting them from reality without even flinching. He calls the elite hunters trash and makes a beeline for the classroom, completely ignoring the alarms and the screams of the faculty. The robed intruder eventually locks eyes with the thunder simp, identifying her as an unripe sacrifice. Before anyone can even process the threat, he unleashes a massive explosion that sends the entire class flying through the air like ragdolls. The thunder simp is left directly in his crosshairs, and with our boy currently taking a divine nap, the school's favorite lightning user is in a world of trouble. The entire student body is currently doing a synchronized flight exercise they definitely didn't sign up for as they're blasted backward by a massive wave of energy. The robe menace is standing there like he owns the place, casually crushing a rock in his palm while calling the elite in training a bunch of little parasites who really ought to just hurry up and die. He unleashes a second magical burst that's so disrespectful it knocks out almost every student in the room in a single go, though the fanatic manages to stay on his feet and block the strike. This earns him a look of genuine surprise from the intruder, who can't believe a lowly bug actually has the reflexes to protect himself. The school's emergency announcement system starts screaming for everyone to evacuate to the bunkers immediately, promising that the principal and the S-class hunters are 10 minutes away. The thunder simp isn't about to wait for a rescue squad though, and she starts gathering lightning in her hands while begging the fanatic to get our boy to safety. The fanatic is surprisingly calm about his master's security, noting that the dark paladin is more than capable of hauling a sleeping deity to the bunker on his own. The villain finally decides he's done playing human, revealing a set of jagged, beastly teeth that look like they belong in a prehistoric swamp before his skin starts shifting into something much scaly. He fully transforms into a terrifying lizard-dragon hybrid, looking like a rom-com nightmare that forgot to use moisturizer. The thunder simp and the fanatic are currently sweating through their uniforms as the beast deploys a purple territory barrier, effectively locking the room and telling the concept of escape to go take a hike. The lizard man laughs at the idea of backup arriving in 10 minutes, calling everyone present nothing more than lunch-sized insects. The fanatic tries to play the hero and distract the scaly monster, but he ends up getting a high-speed tour of the nearest wall, hitting the stone so hard his ancestors probably felt it. He's left coughing up blood and apologizing to our boy in his head for being a subpar meat shield. Meanwhile, down in the bunker, the scary big sister is vibrating with so much anxiety she's basically a human tuning fork. She realizes her sister is in mortal danger and vanishes in a flash of blue light before the scientist can even finish a sentence. Back at the fight, the lizard man has the thunder simp pinned to the ground and is getting ready to harvest her like a ripe snack. A creepy pulsating mouth starts growing right out of the monster's hand, reaching toward the thunder simp with a long, disgusting tongue while she desperately prays for a miracle. Just as the ceremony is about to get messy, the scary big sister teleports onto the scene, looking absolutely feral. She tries to use her mind control skills, but the lizard man just complains that she's being way too loud and ignores her psychic suggestions entirely. She's currently clutching our boy's magical soul dagger, but the lizard man is way too fast, grabbing her by the neck before she can even make a move. He announces that the ceremony is finally ready to begin, leaving both sisters trembling in the grip of a monster. The scary big sister lets out a desperate scream for our boy to save them, and deep in his divine dream nap, his eyes suddenly snap open. He is officially awake, and he looks like a man who is very, very annoyed that his celestial lap pillow session was cut short. Back in the celestial dream lounge, our boy realizes he's got to cut his lap pillow session short because duty, and a very loud scream for help, is calling. The goddess of abundance is currently having a panic attack, warning him that his divine battery is still sitting at a dangerously low percentage and that the god of destruction's minion is not someone you want to fight on an empty tank. Our boy knows he's running on fumes, but he decides that dying as a hero is slightly better than staying in bed while his followers get turned into a lizard's afternoon snack. Back at the academy, the ritual is hitting its peak. The lizard man, who officially goes by Gustav, is an 85-year-old S-class harvester for the god of destruction with a mouthful of nightmare teeth. He's just about to offer up the sisters as a divine sacrifice when our boy arrives and immediately performs an unwanted tail amputation. Gustav is absolutely devastated, warning his precious little tail like he just lost a limb and his favorite hobby at the same time. Our boy doesn't care about the lizard's feelings. He is currently busy holding the thunder simp in his arms while looking like a man who has developed a very specific craving for crocodile leather. The thunder simp is looking at our boy with absolute hard eyes, while he puts her down and starts insulting Gustav's mental health. He begins a high-speed game of tag with the dragon, dodging every punch with the grace of a man who's been practicing his mocking protagonist walk for years. He even starts licking his knife like a total weirdo, telling the crocodile he can't wait to slice him into 1,000 pieces. The fanatic is watching from the sidelines, ignoring his own internal bleeding to take mental notes on our boy's perfect swordsmanship. Gustav eventually stops crying over his tail and decides to tap into his boss's power. He starts glowing with the dark energy of the god of destruction, and our boy's divine stalkers immediately start blowing up the comment section. One god is complaining that he's wasting his glorious muscles by using a puny sword, while the soundless nightmare is literally shaking pom-poms made of cannibalistic flowers. Our boy ignores the digital peanut gallery as Gustav transforms into a massive, black-scaled beast that looks like it stepped off a heavy metal album cover. Unfortunately, the crocodile just got a massive armor upgrade. Our boy tries to land a killing blow, but his blade just slides off the lizard's new skin like a butter knife hitting a brick wall. He tries to point his sword at the dragon's heart, but Gustav catches his arm midair with a smug grin, mocking his god-given invincibility. Before our boy can come up with a witty comeback, he gets punched into the barrier so hard he becomes one with the masonry. He's pinned to the wall, unable to move a muscle, while the system starts screaming like a smoke alarm in a house fire. He tries to trigger his healing finger as a last resort, but the screen just flashes a bright red warning that he's out of divine power and death is officially knocking on his door. Our boy is currently hovering at the edge of becoming a permanent sacrifice, feeling a rare moment of self-awareness about his own divine arrogance. He wonders if it would have been more him to just run away and let everyone else deal with the consequences, but his followers have other plans. While Hades is busy trying to protect his master, the Thunder Simp and the Fanatic are practically drowning in their own tears. Their desperate prayers act like a shot of cosmic espresso for our boy's drained divine battery, refilling his power through the sheer force of their earnest wishes. Back in the octagon, the Lizard Man is still gloating about his impending victory, but our boy is busy scrolling through his mental menu of combined skills. He fuses the Fanatic swordsmanship with Hades' Dark Blessing to create the Heavenly Demonic Godsword, a name that sounds like it was generated by a middle schooler's edgy fanfic but hits like a freight train. Before Gustav can finish his ritual, our boy slices through that creepy hand tongue and prepares to end the show. Outside the barrier, the Principal and the Fire Simp are having a total meltdown because their top-tier skills are currently as useful as a screen door on a submarine. They're begging for a miracle, and they get one when the purple wall suddenly vanishes. They find our boy standing over the monster, performing a bizarre little dance while his knife literally shatters into pieces. Gustav mocks him for breaking his toy, but our boy just calmly informs the crocodile that he's already been deleted from the server. A split second later, the Lizard Man realizes he's been sliced into a prehistoric confetti. As he fades away, he catches a glimpse of our boy's true divine aura and realizes he should have run for the hills the moment he saw a man in a tracksuit. The system confirms that the S-Class Harvester has been successfully sacrificed, granting our boy a massive boost toward his low-class god promotion. Gustav alone is worth 5 S-Classes, bringing the total count to 4 out of 10 potential sacrifices. Our boy immediately goes back to sleep, leaving the principal and the fanatic to wonder if their master is actually a legendary deity or just a world-class narcoleptic. While his physical body is getting some much-needed rest, our boy's consciousness is currently being cleaned inside the mouth of a giant carnivorous plant. The soundless nightmare informs him that this divine sponge bath will permanently immune him to curses and poisons. Just as he's about to be swallowed for the final rinse cycle, he wakes up in his own bed, gasping for air like he just finished a marathon. It turns out he's been out cold for an entire week. The scary big sister is sitting by his side, looking genuinely relieved that he's finally done imitating a corpse. The system drops another bombshell. Her wish to see him wake up has officially turned her into his fourth follower. Since she's an SS rank, she counts as 2 S-class sacrifices, pushing his promotion progress to 6 out of 10. The system then gets weirdly suggestive, hinting that since the scary big sister is now a loyal follower, a kiss might be a great way to celebrate. Our boy is still processing the idea of romantic divine compensation when the romantic tension is shattered by a literal shark. A massive wall-breaking shark crashes through the room like it's late for an appointment, leaving our boy and the scary big sister staring at another monster that clearly didn't get the memo about his vacation time. Our boy is currently dealing with a very literal case of special delivery as a massive monster fish crashes into his life. His subordinate, the Ant King, has decided that the best way to show his devotion is to provide a high-end seafood tribute right through the wall. The Ant King is practically begging our boy to feast on this very big fish to recover his strength, while the principal stands there wondering if the school's insurance policy covers spontaneous aquatic teleportation. Since the wall is already a lost cause, our boy decides to turn the disaster into a public relations win. He uses his crushing finger to tenderize the beast on the spot, announcing a school-wide shark fin lunch and promising to cover the bill. A few days later, our boy returns to the classroom to find that his reputation has undergone a massive glow-up. The students are currently whispering that he's the Hunter Association's top-secret nuclear deterrent, which explains why an SS-rank hunter like the scary big sister is constantly stuck to him like glue. The fanatic is absolutely loving the attention, glowering at the students and demanding they finally acknowledge the sword god in their presence. Even the pink-haired class president has traded her skepticism for total fangirl energy, forcing the entire class to stand and give him a synchronized greeting that actually makes him feel like a real teacher for once. Naturally, our boy's first instinct is to immediately declare another self-study day so he can focus on his digital ant-empire, but the students look like they're about to stage a full-scale uprising. Realizing he can't be a total salary thief today, he quickly rebrands his laziness as one-on-one counseling. His first patient is a student who looks healthy but is secretly struggling with a chronic blood condition. Under the guise of a pep talk, our boy uses his divine healing finger to fix her internal plumbing. She leaves the office feeling like her soul just had a double shot of espresso, while our boy feels pretty smug about his undercover medical skills. The domestic peace is short-lived, however, as the fanatic and the Thunder Simp start a high-stakes argument over who gets to receive counseling first. They're currently bickering like a pair of jealous siblings, completely ignoring the fact that they see him every single day. Our boy eventually just tells them to both get in there at the same time before they accidentally demolish the counseling wing. But just as he's about to settle in, his divine inbox starts screaming with a flurry of urgent warnings. The ant civilization he's been nurturing is currently staring down the barrel of an extinction-level event. The Empress Priestess Arachne is marching a terrifying army of 100 billion bugs toward his tiny followers. The system introduces 3 of her generals, an endless regenerator, a deceitful beast, and a flyer with horrifying flames, all of whom are at least as strong as that lizard man he barely defeated. With a countdown of only 78 hours before his power source is wiped out, our boy realizes that even a mountain of insecticide wouldn't save him. He's currently sitting at 6 out of 10 for his god promotion quest and realizes he needs to start recruiting new followers immediately if he doesn't want to be the first deity to lose his job to a swarm of literal insects. Our boy is currently in a state of desperation, realizing that when you're drowning in a swamp of divine responsibility, you have to grab onto any straw that floats your way. In this case, the straw is a 58-year-old mountain of muscle known as the principal. According to the system, this man is not only a potential transcendent, but also has a massive soft spot for our boy because he saved his daughter's life. Seizing the moment, our boy approaches him to ask for a favor, essentially trying to get him to say the magic words to become a follower. The principal just laughs it off like it's a weird joke, and our boy realizes with a sinking heart that the divine connection failed because the man has exactly zero faith in him. The most awkward lunch date. While the Thunder Simp is busy trying to feed the scary big sister at the next table, our boy is doing some frantic mental math. He's currently sitting at 6 followers and needs 4 more to hit low-class god status before the bug apocalypse arrives. He asks the principal if there's anything he can do to earn his trust, but the principal immediately gets suspicious. He assumes our boy is scheming to marry into the family and declares, with a face full of half-chewed food, that he will never hand over his daughter. Our boy's face is currently having a private crisis as he realizes the principal is living in a completely different genre. He tries to clear the air by mentioning he isn't even into women older than him, which backfires spectacularly. Instead of being relieved, the principal becomes a flaming pillar of fatherly rage, shouting about how dare our boy imply his daughter is unattractive. It's official. The man is a total lunatic, which explains why he hasn't become a follower yet. However, the conversation shifts to our boy's healing skills, and a new quest pops up: heal the principal's legendary friend Miracle, the sleeping hero and the age mystery. The scene shifts to a high-end hospital room where a woman is lying on a literal bed of flowers. This is Miracle, a hero who saved Korea alongside the principal. Our boy is immediately confused because she looks like she's in her 20s, despite being a comrade of the 58-year-old muscle man. The principal explains that Miracle doesn't age, but her life force is currently at its limit, and she's only staying alive by absorbing energy from the plants around her. Our boy tries to check her stats, but for the first time ever, the system refuses to show her age. A mysterious voice in his head, presumably the system's version of a god of manners, tells him that a true gentleman shouldn't obsess over a woman's age. Before he can argue with the UI, our boy is suddenly yanked into a high-definition mental realm that makes the scary Big Sister's thinking space look like a low-budget indie film. A pathetic premonition. Inside the mental space, he meets the consciousness of Lee Mireille. She reveals that she brought him here to talk because her physical body is basically a decorative paperweight. She admits that in her divine premonitions, she saw him as a terrifying incarnation of evil and had planned to use the last of her life to kill him. However, now that she was seeing him in person, she finds him remarkably pathetic and kind, which honestly hurts our boy's feelings more than being called a villain. Our boy doesn't have time to dwell on the insult to his edgy reputation. He politely asks to be sent back to the real world so he can start the healing process, pointing out that they are on a very tight schedule. The clock is officially ticking, with only 68 hours left until the 100 billion strong bug invasion turns his followers into an all-you-can-eat buffet. The sleeping hero locks eyes with our boy, declaring she has officially decided to gamble the fate of the Earth and her personal faith entirely on his shoulders. The system practically trips over itself to pop up a congratulatory notification, cementing Lee Mireille as his 5th follower and updating his S-Class Transcendence potential to 8 out of 10. He mentally calculates that he only needs 2 more elite recruits to hit his quota. Mireille casually mentions that if he keeps saving small worlds, he might just save their own world someday, leaving him wondering if she is referring to Andrea. Before he can ask for clarification, she begins fading into the ether, crowning him a young and cute god. He frantically tries to stop her, but her parting words promise that the solution to his massive problem is much closer than he thinks. The system chimes in again, granting him her premonition dream skill, only to ruthlessly inform him that his current divine power is entirely too pathetic to actually use it. Violently yanked back to reality, he finds himself sweating under the principal's concerned gaze. Ignoring the old man, his brain scrambles to decode Muri's cryptic advice. The scene shifts to the academy grounds, where the students are inexplicably playing with monsters. Mentally lamenting that he failed the principal's quest, our boy assures himself he is preparing an alternate route to farm followers, deciding to aggressively check his surroundings just like Miracle suggested. Cut to our boy furiously negotiating over the phone, demanding a specific delivery by tomorrow at the absolute latest. Hanging up, he internally weeps over the fact that he just maxed out his credit lines and emptied his bank account, praying to whatever higher power exists that this financial gamble pays off. His attention pivots to the academy training grounds, where the sword phantom is swinging a massive piece of metal. Our boy internally cries over the 20 million he dropped on this heavy, upgraded 1000-blade training sword, just to push the kid into S-Class territory. He remembers the supposed free bonus that came with it, a book containing the essence of the wise Teiji sword. His memory flashes back to the swordsman politely but firmly rejecting the gift, entirely dismissing the ancient text as a plastic sewing machine technique that fundamentally clashed with his extreme swordsmanship and would ruin his internal energy. Back in the present, the sword phantom finishes his grueling routine, looking perfectly sweaty and shiny. A purple-haired girl is practically salivating nearby, her eyeballs sweating with pure adoration as she offers him water. The swordsman, entirely immune to romance, points directly past her and demands water from Hades, the S-Class summon monster, leaving the girl staring into the abyss of disappointment. Hades casually steps up, asking if the swordsman is eager to taste defeat again. Dripping with pure determination, the sword phantom insists today is the day he claims victory. Our boy watches this exchange, wondering if the heavenly demonic godsword is really overpowered enough for an A-class to dethrone an S-class. He theorizes this overconfident swordsman might be the nearby solution Miracle hinted at. Hades lunges forward with zero mercy. The sword phantom probably screams about mastering his technique to the extremes and launches a massive counterslash. Hades effortlessly dodges, teleports directly behind him, and violently drops him to the floor. The summon monster admits the attack was decent but still not enough. Cursing his own physical limits, the sword phantom bows future victory before passing out face first in the dirt. Hades casually scoops the unconscious warrior over his shoulder, informing our boy that he is taking the kid to the nurse. The purple-haired girl immediately tags along, Our boy sighs, realizing the swordsman will definitely reach S-class one day. But that eventual timeline does not help his current impending doom. Seeking comfort in consumables, our protagonist chugs another bottle of his golden potion. The system reports his synchronization has crawled from 45 to 46%. He stares into the void, deeply depressed that his 2000th bottle only yielded a miserable 1% increase. He turns his attention to the young sisters. Mina is sweating buckets through a complex incantation, attempting to forcibly unseal Mary, so the younger girl can actually protect herself rather than becoming a decorative appetizer for the nether dragon. Our boy asks how it is going, immediately realizing Mina is hyperfocused. Suddenly, the magical blowback shoves Mina violently backwards. Mary frantically checks on her sister, who claims to be fine despite looking utterly drained. Our boy theorizes that if the swordsman was not the solution, Mary must definitely be the secret weapon. He offers the girls some basic motivational cheerleading, telling them to take it slow and not push too hard. Unfortunately, this accidentally triggers Mina's repressed trauma over our boy, previously stating he was not into older women. She shoots him a toxic glare, visibly sulking on the sidelines. Both Mary and our boy are entirely baffled by this sudden hostility until Mina angrily tears up, aggressively demanding he stop treating her like an older sister and just use her first name. Realizing he is dealing with a ticking emotional time bomb, our boy smoothly produces a lollipop. Her entire demeanor flips like a light switch. Regressing to the mental age of a toddler, she gleefully snatches the candy and happily runs toward him. Our boy watches her munch the treat, sweating nervously as he prays she returns to her actual adult mindset soon, so they can finish the unsealing. The system mercilessly interrupts his thoughts, reminding him of his stagnant 8 out of 10 elite follower count. He realizes that if the unconscious swordsman and the currently sealed Mary just leveled up already, his problems would be entirely solved. The urgency radically spikes as the UI projects the doomsday clock, revealing exactly 48 hours, 1 minute, and 30 seconds until the Imperial army arrives at Andria. Deciding that waiting around is mathematically impossible, he realizes he needs to start training immediately, but then remembers a crucial forgotten task. He casually informs Mary that he is temporarily leaving this world, delegating the garden's defense entirely to the Sword Phantom the minute the guy wakes up from his concussion. Mary is utterly bewildered, demanding to know what crucial task he has to perform. Without a single hint of shame, he stretches, removes his socks, straps on an eye mask, and immediately passes out. The moment his consciousness shifts back to the mental realm, he is absolutely fuming. He glares daggers at the smug, grinning face of Thousand Blade, aggressively demanding to know if the legendary martial arts master is pulling a massive prank on him. A few moments earlier, our boy finally decodes Miracle's cryptic clue about a conveniently close solution. He realizes she meant his literal dreams, specifically the hellish training grounds run by his divine stalkers. Since time crawls in the dream world, allowing him to squeeze over 3 months of brutal training into just 2 real-world days, he grins at the ultimate life hack. Wondering just how overpowered he can get, he closes his eyes, completely passes out, and immediately spawns inside the Sword God Temple. Standing before the massive throne of Thousand Blade that cuts all, our boy gets right to business. He demands to know if the knife that exploded during his previous fight with Gustav is finally repaired. The system relays the Sword God's message, informing him that the blade is still in pieces and requires more time. Annoyed, our boy asks to at least borrow a loaner weapon. The UI ruthlessly states that a rental will cost a staggering 1 million god coins. Our boy's jaw drops, internally screaming at the evil merchant fraud for suddenly doubling the price, but realizing he has 0 other options, he dramatically pays the extortion fee. A blinding light flashes, delivering his premium rental weapon, which turns out to be a literal wooden stick. Feeling completely scammed, he asks the giant deity if this is some kind of sick joke. The system quickly defends the merchandise, revealing it is actually an 850-year-old apricot tree training sword originally used by the founder of the Mount Wasact. Realizing he is holding an antique weapon of mass destruction, our boy decides it will have to do and immediately activates his Ultra Blade skill. The system chimes in with a spicy detail, stating that if he can push his synchronization rate with the founder's sword to a clean 50%, a literal miracle will happen. Since sync rates skyrocket during dream training, our boy is instantly motivated. He barely has time to process the good news before Thousand Blade sneers and launches a massive surprise attack to kick off their hell training. Our boy barely manages to block the colossal strike, staring up at the giant deity in shock. The system formally challenges him to land just 1 successful hit out of the next 10,000 incoming attacks. Fast forward through hours of getting battered and aggressively chugging golden potions. The clock reads 20 hours remaining, with his synchronization crawling to 46.5%. Sweating profusely, our boy finally spots a microscopic weakness in the Sword God's stance. He lunges, successfully landing a strike for the first time in his entire dream training career. His sync rate bumps to 47%. Desperate to hit 50, he keeps chugging potions like his life depends on it. The sword god proudly congratulates him and casually asks for a sip of the golden liquid. Our boy pettily tells the giant to buy his own, prompting the deity to simply scoop him up in a massive fist. The scenery abruptly shifts, dropping him right into the metallic, shiny domain of the perpetual truth seeker. The bodybuilder god declares that metal is the ultimate pre-workout and immediately whips our boy across the back. Yelping in pain, our boy internally cries that his stalkers do not use metaphors, they just dish out literal physical assault. The fitness freak praises our boy's increasingly plump muscles and enthusiastically orders him to casually deadlift a 2-ton weight as a warm-up. Muttering that he is doing this entirely to protect his ankles, our boy grabs the massive iron block. Trembling violently, with his veins practically trying to escape his skin and a dramatic nosebleed painting his face, he miraculously hoists the weight. The metal god claps in absolute delight, strictly reminding him to drink more potions to prevent muscle loss. With only 10 hours left and his sync rate stuck at 48%, another notification pops up. Soundless Nightmare is practically vibrating with excitement because it is finally his turn. Begging the universe to save him from these psychos, our boy mentally prepares himself and jumps into the next realm. He immediately starts slicing through a dark jungle of creepy vines. The system cheerfully reports that Soundless Nightmare is blushing, moaning, and politely requesting to be hit harder. Our boy cringes, officially declaring that not a single one of his stalkers is mentally stable. The dream clock suddenly plummets to a terrifying 1 minute remaining, with his sync rate agonizingly stuck at 49%. Realizing he does not have the time to manually chug 2,000 more potions to bridge the gap, sheer panic sets in. Deciding to test his newly acquired gains, he moves with blinding speed, aggressively devastating the surrounding plants in a matter of seconds. The system immediately announces that Soundless Nightmare is absolutely overjoyed by how rough he is being. Utterly disgusted by the freaky plant god, our boy yells at the masochist to stop enjoying the abuse and just give him the final 1% as the clock ruthlessly ticks down to a single, nail-biting second. Staring at the system window, our boy realizes his synchronization rate is sitting at a mathematically infuriating 49.9%. Visibly losing his mind over that final fraction of a percent, he furiously turns back to the freaky plant god. The system immediately drops a notification stating that Soundless Nightmare joyfully considers the heavenly demonic godsword technique to be the absolute best. Just like that, his synchronization finally hits the golden 50% mark. The system announces that he can now directly intervene in Andrea. Our boy pauses, deeply frustrated, demanding to know if this basic administrative privilege is the small but surprising miracle he was promised, feeling completely scammed once again. Another system window pops up to clarify that his A-class followers will receive a massive boost to their mentality and stamina as a direct result of his milestone. Realizing this specifically refers to the Sword Phantom and Mary, he decides the miracle is actually entirely reasonable if it pushes them into S-class territory. Suddenly, the UI floods his vision with bright red warning notifications. The first wave of the Imperial Army has officially launched their attack, marking the beginning of the Holy War and putting his entire digital ant cult at severe risk. Cursing his terrible luck, he realizes he desperately needs to get to Andrea. However, he quickly pivots, remembering he first needs to make a strategic pit stop at the school rooftop to intercept a very specific, death-inducing delivery. Meanwhile, at the gates of Andrea, the Imperial Army makes a terrifying entrance. Leading the charge are 3 SS-class monsters and the Arecan Queen, who is comfortably lounging on her throne. She dramatically scoffs at the sturdy castle built by the so-called evil god's authority, immediately ordering her filthy fly unit to take the front lines. The captain of the flies steps up, aggressively licking his knife while dismissing the defending ants as insignificant little creatures. Inside the supposedly impenetrable castle, the ant saintess is practically vibrating with fear. She admits there are simply too many enemies to stop with her divine power alone. Trembling, she vows to strictly obey our boy's divine order to never leave the safety of the castle, desperately praying for him to arrive quickly. The surrounding ant warriors are equally terrified. One soldier panics over the enemy's cursed filth that can literally melt stone, while another predicts absolute doom if the bugs attack from the sky. Up above, the enemy flies sneer at the disgusting ants, actively preparing to bombard them with infectious diseases. With maximum arrogance, they order their troops to fire the filth using the authority of the god of faith and infectious diseases. Before the flies can drop their biological weapons, they stop and stare up at the sky in utter confusion. A massive crack violently tears through the atmosphere, revealing a gigantic foot that immediately squashes a massive chunk of the bug army like a minor inconvenience. Our boy majestically enters the battlefield through the dimensional tear, armed to the teeth with the massive haul of bug spray he just retrieved from his delivery. Internally flexing about how undeniably cool he looks, he celebrates the fact that his insecticide army arrived right on schedule. Down below, the fly captain stares at the giant aerosol cans, deeply confused by the foreign writing and wondering if it is the sacred language of the evil god. As he looks up at our boy's colossal, terrifying form, His soul practically leaves his body. Realizing this is an entirely unwinnable war, the bug captain completely loses his mind, screaming that they are all going to die and that his god is telling him to run. Our boy glares down at the massive swarm of flies, fully done with their nonsense. He aggressively activates God's crushing forefinger, seamlessly combining it with the telekinesis skill he inherited from Johann. Declaring them all officially past tense, he triggers every single can of bug spray simultaneously. The leader of the bugs violently coughs through the chemical fog, completely baffled by this apocalyptic poison, and frantically orders a full retreat before immediately dropping dead alongside countless other flies. Down on the ground, the red ants are screaming in sheer panic, warning each other to avoid the deadly poison gas at all costs. Some of the bugs question if this giant exterminator is the legendary evil god the savages worship, while others just aggressively suggest running for their lives. The Arachne Queen furiously shouts down the cowards, reminding them that the giant is fighting alone and promising to personally murder anyone who tries to flee. Watching the chaos, our boy casually notes that there are enough bugs down there to completely cover a standard window. Despite the queen's threats, the red ants continue screaming about the gas. Refusing to take the loss, Arachne declares that cheap tricks will not work twice and demands that her strong, deceitful beast lend her its power. An SS-class monster resembling a massive, winged tiger answers the call. The giant beast takes to the sky and flies directly toward our boy, aggressively flapping its wings to generate a hurricane-force wind that pushes the toxic insecticide cloud right back toward the defending ants. Our boy internally panics, realizing this oversized cat is about to accidentally gas his entire loyal ant cult. With zero time to think, he maxes out his god's crushing forefinger and telekinesis, forcefully sweeping all the toxic gas straight up into the atmosphere. He mentally weeps over the tragic loss of his precious, loan-funded money evaporating into the sky. Down below, the Arachne Queen quickly throws up a protective shield, assuming the evil god is deploying yet another elaborate trick. However, seeing her own forces nearly wiped out, she begrudgingly admits the giant is absurdly strong. Meanwhile, our boy just stares down at the battlefield, utterly baffled and wondering what on earth that giant flying cat thinks it is doing. Quick pause. If you're enjoying the story so far, please drop a like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps to make it worth to bring next parts. Done? Awesome, let's get back to it. The giant winged cat starts aggressively snacking on its own bug allies, harvesting their life force to forcefully power up. Watching this brutal friendly fire, the Arachne Queen coldly rationalizes the massive casualties, deciding that feeding millions of her own troops to the beast is entirely necessary to maintain their aggressive momentum. Without missing a beat, she commands her dragonfly unit to unleash the blind troops. Down below, our boy scratches his nose, completely surrounded by enemy red ants. He is still internally fuming over the oversized cat blowing away his premium pesticide, mentally plotting to turn the beast into past tense. His revenge fantasy is abruptly interrupted when he looks up and spots a massive swarm of airborne bugs being ridden by tiny ant warriors. The Arachne Queen smugly watches them descend, entirely confident that her blind troops possess jaws capable of chewing through solid stone and will easily land critical hits to finish the giant off. The kamikaze bugs launch themselves directly at our boy, commanding their troops to forcefully drive him into the ground. In response, he casually activates a scale to reinforce his physical durability. The bugs violently crash into his muscles and are instantly pulverized upon impact. The system excitedly pops up with a message from the perpetual truth seeker, who aggressively praises our boy, proudly declaring that deadlifting literal tons of steel has successfully turned his physique into pure, unbreakable metal. Refusing to accept reality, the remaining airborne bugs desperately try to hype each other up. They loudly insist they outnumber him and mock him as a weak deity right before landing directly on his skin. Completely over the swarm's nonsense, our boy simultaneously deploys God's condemning middle finger and the multiplying thumb of God. His entire body erupts into a massive inferno, instantly incinerating every single bug attached to him. He spots another annoying insect and casually flicks it away. The sheer force of his flick shoots out deadly projectiles of fire that rain down on the enemy army like literal meteors. Down in the trenches, the ants scream in absolute terror about hellfire raining from the sky, frantically begging for their lives and aggressively shoving each other as they are burned alive. Despite the epic light show, our boy starts sweating profusely, suddenly feeling deeply exhausted. He checks his divine power reserves and realizes he is running dangerously low. The system unhelpfully updates his low-class god promotion quest, showing he has only collected 52 million out of the required 1 billion sacrifices. He mentally complains that considering the Imperial Army has 1 billion troops, hitting the quota should have been a breeze. He admits his recent synchronization power boost is great, but the massive drain on his divine power leaves him feeling completely dizzy. Through his blurry vision, he notices a bizarre new monster glaring at him with pure hatred. The system identifies the creature as a 2,200-year-old sexless follower of the light shining in the highest depths of the sky. Apparently, the ancient entity is deeply offended that our boy is using the exact same style of flames as its master. Declaring itself the courage of fire, the monstrous follower formally requests 100 million sacrifices from the Arachne Queen as payment to stop the evil god. Arachne immediately grants the terrifying request without a second thought. Her own priestesses desperately beg for mercy, but she ruthlessly tells them to shut up and consider their fiery deaths a noble contribution to the Empire's inevitable victory. The sexless monster ruthlessly incinerates millions of the Queen's bugs, harvesting their energy to grow to an absolutely massive size. Our boy stares up at the now gargantuan face monster, internally declaring that he is royally screwed. The beast charges at him with terrifying speed. Trembling violently, our boy desperately tries to activate God's crushing forefinger, only for the system to coldly inform him that his divine power is entirely depleted. Before he can even process the failure, the massive monster slams into him. He spits out a concerning amount of blood as the sheer force of the impact violently launches him backward, sending him crashing hard inside the fortress walls. The Arachnid Queen gleefully celebrates the massive hit, mocking his pitiful fate and proudly declaring she has finally avenged their fallen green companion. Lying battered on the ground, our boy has a mild existential crisis, wondering if he is simply too weak to actually protect his ant cult despite being worshipped as their all-powerful god. His depressing thoughts are interrupted when the ant saintess frantically approaches his massive head, begging her deity to open his eyes. He weakly asks why she abandoned the absolute safety of the castle, but she ignores the question and immediately activates her healing ring finger. The system harshly reports that the healing completely failed because the enemy's oppressive divine power is actively blocking the process. She desperately tries a second time, but the system firmly denies her again. The giant sexless monster slowly approaches, mocking our boy as a good-for-nothing evil deity and preparing to execute him as a final sacrifice. Sensing the absolute doom, the ant saintess drops to her knees, tearfully praying to her great and merciful god to intervene. Our boy silently prays to whatever higher power is listening, desperately hoping he has just enough divine juice left to summon some backup. A blinding light flashes, and Ialho suddenly materializes on the battlefield. Without wasting a single second, the swordsman cleanly decapitates the massive, sexless monster. The system confirms the descent of Ialho has been successfully granted, locking him in for a solid 60 minutes. Ialho casually tells his shocked deity not to worry, mentioning he has killed plenty of these ugly things back in the tower. Our boy's heart swells with absolute pride. He is just about to ask when his follower got so incredibly overpowered, but before he can finish the thought, the giant winged cat swoops down from the sky. The beast attempts to swallow El Ho-Ho, casually dismissing the swordsman as a tiny insect. The ant saintess watches the chaos unfold in pure horror, while our boy realizes he does not even have the physical strength left to twitch a finger to help. Just as all hope seems completely lost, the system delivers a perfectly timed notification. Thousand Blade that cuts all officially announces that the repair on his favorite explosive kitchen knife is finally complete. The greedy martial arts deity even waives the delivery fee as a rare courtesy, freely admitting he has already ripped our boy off plenty of times. In a flash of light, the fully repaired, overpowered blade drops right into our boy's waiting hand. Gripping the newly repaired blade, our boy immediately feels a massive surge of power coursing through his veins. He stands up tall, looking like he is posing for a motivational thumbnail. The monstrous sexless head assesses the situation, realizing things have suddenly become incredibly dangerous. Our boy wastes no time, activating the Sword Phantom Skillshare and unleashing the Heavenly Demon Rain. The three SS-class monsters take one look at his overwhelming aura and collectively decide it is time to clock out. They frantically try to escape, but our boy just flashes a predatory grin, mockingly asking if they are seriously trying to run away. He moves with blinding speed, aggressively slashing the giant sexless head. The beast crashes to the ground, spitting blood and tragically mourning the precious body its master had crafted for it. Without pausing, our boy pivots and cleanly slices the massive SS-class snake monster perfectly in half. Despite the epic combo, our boy is sweating profusely and trembling from the physical exertion. He glares up at the flying tiger, mentally cursing the slippery beast for eating and swearing absolute revenge. However, his divine power is flashing red like a low battery. He gets incredibly dizzy, doubting he has enough juice to use the Heavenly Demon Rain a second time. The flying tiger immediately senses his exhaustion, enthusiastically declaring that the giant has overextended himself and ordering an immediate counterattack. Just as the beast prepares to strike, it violently flinches. The tiger starts sweating and trembling, completely baffled by a sudden, terrifying spike in our boy's energy. A massive blue aura erupts around our protagonist. The system cheerfully chimes in, announcing that follower young Mary Seal has been completely undone, officially unlocking her transcendence potential. Our boy realizes this massive power boost is the small but surprising miracle had promised him. The UI updates his low-class god promotion quest, showing his S-class potential sacrifices now sitting pretty at 9 out of 10. Clenching his fist, he feels his divine power rapidly restoring thanks to Mary's awakening. He mentally sends a quick prayer to the Sword Phantom, hoping the unconscious swordsman will hurry up and become Nover 10. Fully recharged, our boy readies his blade to slam Heavenly Demon Rain once again. The tiger visibly panics, deciding a face-to-face battle is absolute suicide. Before our boy can launch his attack, a sickening squelching noise distracts him. He looks down to see the severed halves of the SS-class snake casually stitching themselves back together. The serpent smugly asks if the inferior evil god is surprised, boasting that its body is blessed with absolute immortality and cannot be killed by a lousy sword. Sweating nervously, our boy receives a system notification confirming the snake is a follower of the Dominator of the Abyss and regenerates endlessly. He trembles from sheer fatigue, concluding his subscription to life is officially being cancelled. The snake mocks his shaking, laughing at the idea of being defeated by such a pathetic weapon and preparing to lunge. Suddenly, the sword itself aggressively pulses with intense sword chi. A voice echoes directly from the blade, highly offended, demanding the snake repeat what it just said about the sword being lowly. The snake doubles down, insisting the weapon is useless against its immortality. Our boy is completely bewildered, wondering who on earth possessed his kitchen knife. He briefly considers the Manhwa factor, but quickly realizes the voice sounds entirely too unhinged, like a lunatic who just escaped a high-security mental hospital. The possessed sword begins to laugh maniacally. The snake gets deeply frustrated, demanding to know what is so funny. The sword casually replies that the situation is hilarious because the snake is already dead. Utterly confused, the serpent tries to activate its master's regeneration blessing, only to watch in horror as its body simply begins to disintegrate into dust. The sword coldly informs the vanishing beast that nobody outlives the Heavenly Demon Rain, and it was technically dead the exact second the blade made contact. The system pops up to formally congratulate our boy for massacring the immortal follower, noting the kill was worth a massive amount of sacrifice points and significantly shifting his promotion quest progress. A sudden surge of dark energy envelops him, making him feel absurdly overpowered and leaving him wondering just how broken he will be once he hits the final milestone. His power trip is abruptly cut short when he suddenly senses extreme bloodlust from above. He looks up just in time to see the giant tiger hovering in the sky. The beast angrily vows to rip him to shreds using the wings of the wind, immediately unleashing a barrage of razor-sharp wind slashes directly at our boy, leaving him entirely shocked by the sudden aerial bombardment. Thanks for sticking around until the end. If you enjoyed this recap, drop a like and let me know your favorite moment in the comments. I'll see you in the next video for more madness. Peace!